19 to 20 slides. It's not that many slides. But there's some reading for context to be able to really paint this picture. I wanted this to be kind of like the sort of the intro and then go into some other stuff, but it's just gonna kind of be like the whole class. And I want to wait. Do I want to? Let me see. So with Jacob's Trouble, first of all, how many of y'all in the house or online have heard of that before? Everybody, pretty much. So what context, Brother Anthony, got your mic? What context have you heard of Jacob's Trouble? Have you heard of it as something that is to come, like, oh, we about to go through Jacob's Trouble now? We getting near the end, then, what context have you heard of Jacob's Trouble?
Yeah, I think mostly I've heard it kind of something that has already happened.
Yeah. Did you have a differing opinion of it based from what you heard, or?
Yeah, I can't remember specifically where, but I think, I don't know, I've heard from somewhere that maybe like we've already gone through, just looking at our captivity, that we've already gone through just being time captivity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not too sure about it.
I got you. I appreciate you. You had something, Georgie?
No, I think as I hear it, a lot of people say we're in Jacob's Trouble like that, based on all the things that's happening to us as like it's going on currently. That's just the videos that I've listened to, that you like all of their somebody they are talking about. Either we're entering into Jacob's Trouble or we're in it like now. Like it's upon us pretty much.
It should go up in a minute. Abshaya, when you hear some of the the different organizations, if you're free to speak, if you hear some of the organizations, how is it taught to you that it's something to come, or that it's already here, or that it already happened?
I hear both. I've heard both, that it's to come, or it's about to happen, it's getting close, or that it already, and I've heard that it already happened. I've heard both sides. For me, because I believe it takes a lot of historical content too to be able to place a lot of it. Well, that's any topic, right? You need historical content to see if something happened or hasn't happened. But when I look at or think about what is to come, as we know, then you don't know if there's more to happen. But I do believe, looking at historical stuff, that when you think about what has happened to our people already, then I think what more or what worse can happen. Because again, what's worse than how the Greeks were? They were very brutal people. What's worse than how the Romans were, the ancient Romans? Or what's worse than the Spanish Inquisition? That stuff is horrible, like atrocious stuff. What's worse than those things? I really personally can't think of worse stuff, because the ancient times were brutal, just straight vicious and brutal type of people. So thinking about how, fast forward to the getting out of that, and then to the slave trade, and then being placed in these other lands, well, those things continued. So for me personally, if I had to personally say, I think we're already in it, or it's already been happening. And when I think of salvation, well, when I think of Luke, I think that's chapter 1, I think it is, or 2, to be saved out of the hands of the people that hate us and that hate the Most High. So we got to get rescued out of it, out of the captivity and from our enemies. So, but as long as we're in their hands, we're in trouble. hence Jacob's trouble.
Thank you, Art, for that. I don't want to agree or disagree as we bring it out. But I was going to ask one more person. It was going to be you, Marianne. But now, if you got some precepts, you might need to hold them, because what's the precept?
To that Deuteronomy 30 verse 7.
You can read it. We're gonna go to that at the end, I think. So go ahead.
Okay. Now I was gonna say it's crazy because Christianity, like I said, led an assembly, reading, we were precepting, again, we were already kind of, going back to our heritage while we were Christianity. But I really didn't start hearing anything about Jacob's trouble until Most High, opened our eyes to who we were.
Mm-hmm.
And when we, he illuminated us, I always saw it as the, especially this verse right here, how the time of Jacob's trouble is going to be at hand. However, again, when you look at the end of what it says, that you will be saved out of it. So it would be the curses that were placed upon us for disobedience, all those things that were placed upon us, he said, we'll be saved out of it. Those curses will now be placed upon our enemies.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So, that's where Deuteronomy 30, verse 7 comes in. So I never saw it as, Jacob's trouble. Oh, we're going to continue to be in trouble and things like that. I mean, thanks be to the Most High, his compassions and his mercies, looking upon us. He says he's going to save us out of these troubles. And again, Deuteronomy 30, verse 7 says, and Yahweh the Elohim will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee.
Oh, praises for that. Absolutely. So those are all good answers, good context. The popular teaching out there is that this is something that is to come, and you might have a few that will say that it's already happened, or it's a continual thing that we're going through. So my style is not to try to make people guess until the end of the class or anything like that. So I like to kind of declare a statement or a thesis, I guess is what they call it, and then try to prove that thesis. So my statement is that this Jacob's trouble, we've already been in the Jacob's trouble. It's already happened, and it's been a continual period of Jacob's trouble, and it may increase in our direct persecution. Like it may heighten. We don't know, we don't know that. It may heighten as we are preparing to get out of here, but the Jacob's trouble is all 12 tribes. It's not just a lot of us. We ain't been through no trouble. Yeah. Go ahead, Mara.
But you just said it though, and the text proved what you just said. You said it's probably gonna be heightened. That's what this text in context is saying, because it's saying, for that day is great, none is like it. That means the slave ships, the raping, Rome coming and sacking, taking our manure. This day is none like this. And then it says it's a time of straightness. So it's like the context has been lost in translation. What you said, this is going to be the height, like the epitome of our trouble. But we're about to be delivered.
Right. So I do agree, but I also I'm to make it even more clear. Even this day is nothing like it. I'm saying that it's continual. That day, I'm not saying the years, but there'll be a reason. We'll see as we go to the precepts of why I'm saying that. But I still stand by the increase at the end. So we can go to this for some context. I guess we could just any volunteers that want to read. Oh yes, absolutely.
I feel I like to think the things. I'm thinking like, because we did not obey the Most High and their policies commands, we're in trouble. So until we collectively as a nation come back, you know, they get out and get this trouble.
That's my sister right there. Huh? Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Also, here I was thinking, and Marshall was voicing it, you know, look at our ancestors, before we came out of Egypt, you know, Pharaoh started turning up the heat.
mm-hmm.
I mean, he started turning up the heat before we were able to leave. Most High is hardening his heart. And I think a lot of people miss that. It was the Most High hardening his heart, you know, to be able to turn up the heat. So it was all for a reason. You know, and I always think, you know, I always say, I don't believe in coincidence, chance, and all that stuff. There's a reason behind everything.
And I think if we go back to the previous classes that we did about tried by fire, different periods, our people have been tried, and we will continue to be tried as we get out of here. Hey, go ahead. Well, I want to say, you know, I was just going to say, like I know how, you know, people say, or even Marah, you know, we're not getting out scotch free. So that's why I'm saying it's like each group of people has had their specific, you know, judgments or trials. And for us, it's no difference.
That's the point I was going to make, because when the Most High, when I was complaining one time, like, you know, like, why are we going through this? And he's like, y'all deserve this. Like, oh, but then he's like, why should your generation, our generation, why should we be the ones that get blessed to see that we're Israel and then go back to the land? You're not going to appreciate the land.
Right.
So even though like most of us at different stages, but for most of us right now, like Sister Zahaba in her stage, we hate being around these Gentiles. So we all are getting to that stage where, like, even our own family, Mom, you birthed me, but you sit here swallowing pig feet. So that's terrible for me, for us. But still, it pales in comparison to what the ancients went. Right. So again, I mean, I don't want to, you know, spoiler alert, but it only in context only makes sense. We're gonna have to go through something. So when we see them shores of Zion, we all are crying and praising God sincerely, like all snot nose and like, man, we made it. You know, yeah. So that's I just think that's how it's gonna be.
Go ahead, Sister Z.
I was gonna say too, so with this scripture that you have up here, so with that time of straightness, is that the awakening part of getting in order, or is that still, like you said, trouble and straight?
Yeah, that straightness, I meant to highlight it, but that straightness just goes right back to that definition that we just brought out. The Most High is bringing trouble, a straightening, a correction, a judgment.
Because I was looking in the concordance and I looked at straightness, yeah, and it was saying like narrow confinement or disability.
Mm-hmm. So is that the root word you're saying? What's the word?
86693. It says a narrow place that is confinement.
Yeah, so the root word is specifically from Jeremiah 30 was tazarah. The root word is tazar. Tazar is H6862 that they used in this context, and it's narrow, tight, straits, distress, adversary, foe, enemy, oppressor. Yeah, so it's still all of that is still in context. If you in a straight, you in a tight situation.
Right.
Exactly, a straight jacket, like he said. You in a tight situation. You in even a modern term. I ideas pop in my mind, but I didn't go through with it. But I think it was a song that was saying something about a little bit of straightening in the one of the guys from the Migos. That would have to be Narayo or Zamaria to help out. But I was thinking about that. But that's like a modern way people use it. Go ahead, brother Verge.
I would ask a forceful question, but even and you about to actually you letting us ask these questions, you into what you're about to bring out.
But even when we talk about Jacob's trouble, and I'm kind of landing back off what he was saying as far as like, you know, the increase in what we perceive as already happened to us and what it's gonna look like. Because right now, I feel like as individuals, we're waking up. But once we call back and repent as a nation, like what that's gonna look like when our enemy, when Hasatan unleashes what he can say his final rap on us, knowing that, you know, we waking up now as a nation and calling back the Most High. How's that gonna look for persecution as we get out of here? You know what I mean?
That's kind of how I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it as if that the reason why I left room open, because I said it's a continual thing. We're in it now, and it seems that it would be heightened. Even just if we look at the fact that if the Most High, you know, we don't know how long before we get out of here. We're seeing like the plans that they have already, regardless. So we already know, regardless of anything, that the way we live in this nation right here is going to be heightened, whether it's through the dollar collapsing, the food shortages, the famines, and those are things that the Most High uses to increase persecution, famine, sword, pestilence, those different types of judgments. So yeah, like that's how I was thinking. Like when we come as a nation, and then they acknowledge that we're the people. Now that they can kind of say, okay, we could put all of them in one box, and persecution can, you know, rise or heighten at the same time. We already know that the Most High has a plan and a judgment for them. Am I right?
One last question, because this, you know, when we get together, it just starts more like Voltron. But 80 babies, our parents, they used to want me to straighten you out.
Right, right.
What are you talking about?
It's been in the language the whole time. It's been in the language the whole time, and that was part of yesterday. I was telling you, I had things here, but when I started putting it together, the Most High, things started popping out, and that was one of the things that was like, whoa, straightness, and because in some parts the KJV used the word straightness. But the Septuagint, that's why I put the Septuagint up there. Jeremiah would actually be 37, 37 in the Septuagint. And so yeah, I would say if someone can read 1 through 1 through 10. Yeah.
This is Jeremiah chapter 30, as you read it, 37 in the Septuagint, reading out Septuagint. Starting verse 1. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yah, saying, thus speaks Yah Elohim Yasha'al, saying, write all the words which I have spoken to thee in a book. For behold, the days come, saith Yah, when I will bring back the captivity of my people, Yasha'al and Judah, said Yah, and I will bring them back to the land which I gave to their fathers, and they shall be masters of it. And these are the words which Yah spoke concerning Yasha'al and Judah. Thus said Yah, ye shall hear a sound of fear. There is fear, and there is not peace. Inquire and see if a male has borne a child, and ask concerning the fear, wherein they shall hold their loins and look for safety. For I have seen every man, and his hands are on his loins. Their faces are turned to paleness.
So it's saying that, you know, this time, you know, it's going to be a great astonishment for even the men. A man is going to be feeble, scared. Go ahead.
Verse 7. For that day is great, and there is not such another, and it is a time of straightness to Jacob, but he shall be saved out of it.
It is a time of Tazarah, but he should be saved out of it. Verse 8.
Verse 8. In that day, saith Yah, I will break the yoke off their neck, and will burst their bonds, and they shall no longer serve strangers.
That sounds like our ancestors had those yokes of iron on their necks. Now the yoke of iron is invisible, but it's still on us through the Social Security, through the job system, through the way pretty much you gotta operate through the tax system, you know, etc. Verse 9.
Verse 9. But they shall serve Yahweh Elohim, and I will raise up to them Dawad, their king.
And we know who comes through Dawad, you know, Yahweh Shai. And to prove that now I'm reading it, how we were saying the Most High has done this, and that it's judgment, destruction, straightening, trouble. Verse 10 says, thus saith Yahweh, I have brought on thee destruction, and thy stroke is painful. So again, the Most High is letting us know that it's him that's doing it, doing the straightening or the Tazarah. And it's funny that Tazarah and Tazapan are kind of similar, because that stronghold that he brought scattered the people to the edges, which would be the edges of the earth. Gerald, you had your hand up?
Yeah, Salakia, the water. And so in comparison, because I'm not going to really go too far with stating my position, because I got to go into verses, and I know you likely going to bring them out because we talk about this subject. But in comparison, when you look at the fish people, you know, who the world is viewing now as so-called the people, you know, outside of the so-called Holocaust, you know, what could they really use as their trouble? You know, so much so where they protect themselves these days with their anti-Semitism and stuff like that. So as soon as you say something to them, you get, you know, you get corrected. You know, so what kind of trouble are they really dealing with? They protected. They ain't really dealing with no trouble. You know, when you actually look at the real people, you know, and what they going through, that clearly lines up with the prophecies are saying and not what they're going through. So in contrast, I just wanted to state that. But I did just see something in verse 10. Did you plan on reading verse 10?
I had just read verse 10. I'll read it again.
Well, that was actually that was you read Septuagint's actually verse 12. And 10 and 11 actually.
I see. I'm just now seeing that. I thought I was reading verse 10. My bad. The way it's written here, it does say 10, 11, and then it says 12. So apologies for that. Yeah, I'll read verse. Marion, read verse 10 for me.
Is he doing it in the King James or the Septuagint?
It's not in the Septuagint, he's saying.
Oh yeah, because King James, it says something. I think it already kind of gives us a better understanding of what's going on. Go ahead.
King James, verse 10, so verse 10 and 11. Therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith Yah, neither be dismayed, O Yahshua. For lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of that captivity. And Yaquab shall return and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith Yah, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee. But I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished.
Go ahead, Gerald.
So yeah, particularly somebody can deal with 11, but particularly towards the end of 10, I think the way 10 wraps up, and you know how you say, I in thy seed from thy land of their captivity, and Jacob shall return and shall be in rest and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. So we know it ain't already passed and ended. Clearly it's something that's either continuing, we in it right now, or it's future, because the outcome, the end result is going to be us back in the land in peace, in rest, and ain't afraid of nobody no more. So we know that time period is the millennium. So yeah, I just thought that part helps us understand it more. We add that nugget.
Khan, yeah, I agree. The ending of the trouble is when we as a nation are back in our land and safe in that rest. So I do agree. I wanted to try to go to real quick just to paint the picture, Jeremiah chapter 1. And it's just going to be real quick. And I'll read just starting at the top, Shema, when you have it. Jeremiah chapter 1. Because I want this to be eventually, you know, I'm going to go back and add details and stuff to it, but a lot of it I either got in my phone or it's in my head. I want it to be a roadmap. So a part of that is recognizing like somewhat when and where these things were taking place. So just starting at Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 2. It says, to whom the word of Yahweh came in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Yehoiada, in the 13th year of his reign. It also came in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, the king of Yehoiada, unto the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah, the son of Josiah, the king of Judah, unto the carrying away of Yerushalayim captive in the 5th month. So Jeremiah, in the beginning of his prophesying that the word came to visit him, they were still in the land. And during his prophesying is when they began to be carried into captivity to Babylon. So we just gonna remember that specifically speaking about, you know, Jeremiah, right? So going to the next, let's turn to Ezekiel chapter 5, and we can go in either one. They're both very similar. You know, I would say if you got the Septuagint, go with that, but they're very, very similar on this. I believe I saw. And real quick, while y'all are turning there, I will read chapter 1, verse 1. And it says, now it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 4th month, on the 5th day of the month, that I, Ezekiel, was in the midst of captivity, by the river Kabar, and the Shemayim, or the heavens, open, and I saw the visions of Yahweh, or the Most High. So now with Ezekiel, Ezekiel is already in captivity while he is receiving his word from the Most High. But they're in a subsection by the river Kabar during this captivity. Does that make sense so far? All right. So I don't really have anything from Isaiah in here, but Isaiah was before the captivity. Jeremiah is before and as they are going into captivity. And so far, we're seeing that Ezekiel is in captivity, and you'll see that some are still in the land. That makes sense? Cool. So Ezekiel chapter 5 and verse 8. Ezekiel chapter 5 and verse 8. Let me get there myself. All right. Can I get another volunteer, or if Brother Marion want it? You got it? You want? All right. Can you do me a favor and start at verse 7?
So Ezekiel chapter 5, starting at verse 7. And I'm reading it out of the Septuagint.
Okay, great.
Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, because your occasion for sin has been taken from the nations round about you, and ye have not walked in my statutes, nor kept mine ordinances, nay, ye have not even done according to the ordinances of the nations round about you. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, and I will execute judgment in the midst of thee in the sight of the nation.
So the Most High saying that this judgment that he's bringing upon us, he gonna beat you in front of the neighbors. Is pretty much what he's saying. He gonna get you right in the grocery store. How you was acting up, how Aunt was acting up. when Sister Joy took him to the farmer's market, you know, she be on that healthy stuff. So, but that's what the Most High is saying. You want to show out and take my name in vain in front of all these people that are around about you, who I've placed you in the midst of the good land, but on the outskirts, you know, he in front of the neighbors, we disrespected him. So now the punishment is going to be in the sight of the nations. Continue.
Verse 9, and I will do in thee things which I have not done.
I will do in thee things which I have not done.
The like of which I will not do again.
And I will not do these things again. What does that sound like? Remember, Jeremiah is before Ezekiel. Jeremiah 30 is Jacob's what? Trouble. Jeremiah is before Ezekiel. They weren't in captivity yet, right? And he said that it's no day like it, right? What is Ezekiel saying? That the Most High is saying?
Something never been done.
Go ahead. Read verse 9 again.
And I will do in thee things which I have not done, and the like of which I will not do again for all thine abomination.
And then read verse 10.
Therefore the fathers shall eat their children in the midst of thee, and children shall eat their fathers. And I will execute judgments in thee, and I will scatter all that are left thee to every wind.
So the word, or the Malachim, the word came to Ezekiel, right? And he's explaining this, right? That last part, verse 10, read it one more time.
Just the last part or the whole?
The whole verse.
Therefore the fathers shall eat their children in the midst of thee, and children shall eat their fathers, and I will execute judgments in thee, and I will scatter all that are left of thee to every wind.
Where did he get that from? Have you heard that ever before? Like, is that something that's not that it not? I'm not saying. I see how you're thinking. I'm not saying that this has already happened to this point. I'm not saying that, or I'm not asking that. The part where he says that I'm gonna do something. Verse 9, I will do in thee that which I have not done, whereunto I will not do any more the like because of your abominations. Then verse 10 is explaining one of the things that's going to happen, that he will do, that will never be done again.
Salakia, it sounds like when he said, I'm gonna flood the earth because of this crazy stuff y'all done did, you know, but I'm not gonna do it again by water, you know, but he dealt with it. I mean, that's what I think of, the way the wording is.
And I might be getting ahead of myself because of the outline, but it still fits right here, the way I got it. So any other, like, where, go ahead.
When you talk about, I know we like the see Jerusalem when we had our ancestors was actually eat each other and cut.
Pause it, hold right there, because your thinking is right. You're thinking you're already on point, just like you were. You're in the future now. We trying to roadmap this angel, or this word, Yahweh Shai, is giving this prophecy or this word to Ezekiel. So when he says, I'm going to do something that's never been done, and then he goes and says, the fathers will eat the sons and the sons will, is that a repeat of something? Deuteronomy chapter 28. Don't quench the spirit. I'm trying to ask it without, giving it away.
That's verse 53.
I think it's verse 53.
Verse 53.
So this is what I'm saying. So I think I do got it in here too. So just since we already there, 28 and 53 says, Shammai. I don't want this to be fast. I want y'all to, that's why I'm trying to go slow, because I know how my brain be working. And it says, verse 53, Deuteronomy chapter 28, and thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which Yahweh thy Elohim have given thee in the siege and in the straitness, wow, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. So if we go, well, I'm gonna come back and I think I'm gonna revisit it. I ain't gonna go into no details. So he's repeating what was told to the ancestors when they were coming out of the wilderness, and they all said yes, like that song we played this morning. They said, all these things you said to do, we will do, right? And then he said, these are the blessings and these are the curses, right? And one of the curses was verse 53. Go ahead, Maran.
I just want everybody to mark, because this is all our classes overlap, and this could be a verse to help you when you're witnessing to Christians or family and friends, because they take you to that Romans 3:23, all have sinned and come short of the glory. But right here in Ezekiel 5, you can mark in your text that he says, I'm going to do something to Israel that no one. So if we all are sinned, why Israel get worse punishment than the rest of the people? So you see, you have to dig into these prophecies to point people, we're not like other people. So that this is like a 2-for-1 class here. You're destroying Christian dogma, you're exposing all that Western theology is false.
That was a absolutely amazing point. That's an absolutely amazing point. Absolutely amazing point. Can I get you, we going to the Apocrypha. Can I get Brother Marion? We going to the Apocrypha. It's going to be, the next we're going to is Baruch. I tried to put the key slides on the screen, but it's going to, especially too, like I said, it's only, we are slides wise, we're halfway through, but Baruch, the first Baruch, and this is in the Septuagint, especially if you got the Septuagint or online, but the Apocrypha will do as well. I know most people have it. For the context, I would like to start at chapter 1, even though the meat is chapter 2. I would like to start at chapter 1, verse 17. Real quick, before you go, just to keep the roadmap going, and I'll go back when we do the review. I will try to have these little roadmap things in here. But chapter 1 of Baruch says, and these are the words of the book of Baruch or Barak, the son of Neriah, the son of Messiah, the son of Zedekiah, the son of Asai, I don't even know how to say that, Asaidius, the son of Asaidiah, and the son of, I'm trying to, Chekiah, because I know that word is, I know that the way they wrote is wrong. So, and this is written in Babylon. So now we went from so far, Isaiah not in captivity. Jeremiah started off not in captivity into the captivity. Ezekiel was in the captivity, but they were seemed to be in a subsection of that greater area of Babylon. Now Baruch is in Babylon. You see that, right? And then this is in the 5th year, the 7th month of what time the Chaldeans, Babylonians, took Jerusalem and burnt it with fire. See where we at? They're in captivity. Read verse 17 for me.
Luke chapter 1, verse 17. For we have sinned before Yahweh, and disobeyed him, and have not hearkened unto the voice of Yahweh our Elohim, to walk in the commandments that he gave us openly.
Keep going.
Since the day that Yahweh brought our forefathers out of the land of Egypt unto this present day, we have been disobedient unto Yahweh our Elohim, And we have been negligent in not hearing his voice.
And real quick, I was telling Naraya, I was like, you know, when we talk about this and try to compare us to them now, and we try to like make it this like great explanation, I just came to the conclusion, it's no great explanation needed. They were exactly just like we are today. It's no different. When I was using the example of you know, telling a associate, you know, I always joke with people, like, oh, what you got for breakfast? I see you got a biscuit. And then I'm like, I know that ain't no pork, is it? He said it's the ultimate bacon. I said the ultimate what? I said, and I do this with everybody, but I do it lightheartedly, but I be for real, but I do it lighthearted. I said, oh, you gotta throw that away. You gotta throw that in the trash. And then they just go on this diatribe about how they love pork and they can't give it up, all that stuff, right? But that ain't no different than what our people was doing back then. When Jeremiah, Baruch, or whoever would go to the people, we ain't gonna stop worshiping Astaroth. When we stop doing that, we ain't get no rain. The Most High is the one that controls but we've always been like this. He says we haven't obeyed the commandments of the Most High since we got out of Egypt. Now, the Most High has blessed us to have the advantage of being after them in a sense, meaning we can see what they did. All praises, you know, to the work that was done. But we can see that we don't keep the commandments today. We talking about as a nation. So you see what I'm saying? We still in the same. So read one second. So we're gonna go to Virgil and then we're going to Gerald. Go ahead, Virgil.
I was just going to say, it's so crazy that all our life in Christianity, these books in that Old Testament, the so-called Old Testament, they keep you away from and say you don't need it. And I feel like this right here, literally, you bring it up, this is literally saying what was, what is, it is to come. You look right now, I was just watching where they had these projects, and they were showing how it was implemented and how these women, our women, with the government taking our women and saying, listen, we gonna take care of you, but you gotta get that man out the house.
Right.
You know, I lived through that, and you look at what is just being able to be done to our people. We've had people marching, we've had all these brothers that, you know, champion for our people. We just tried everything but coming back to these lost character man, doing what the Most High said do. You know what I mean? So this is just like amazing just to have our history laid out like this. And it makes sense why they can handle and do us the way they do us as a nation right now.
100%. 100%.
Figure that out. That's to understand this. Keep the baby in the room.
Absolutely.
Not, you know, it's like, yeah, I know.
Gerald, yeah.
You know, what's crazy about that is, you know, I sent that video out in the Torah Group chat last night, you know, with Eddie Murphy kind of speaking about that. You know, Arsenio was in an interview on the Arsenio Hall show back in the day. Arsenio was kind of moving, well, you know, we can march and we can vote and all this stuff. And then he was like, and where has that gotten us? You know what I mean? Nowhere. And it's gotten us nowhere. And I believe even back then, he may have been trying to come out. But when you're locked into that entertainment industry, anyone, but again, I was just talking to Jackson about this, you know, this morning. The entertainment industry, the sports industry, all of that's there to be that distraction, to be that stronghold upon us, to keep us in sin, to keep us doing what it is we're supposed to be doing naturally. So, you know, any one of our people who start kind of swaying away from the norm of society, now they got a handle on that, you know, and that's why you see Eddie he looks completely different now. He speaks completely different now, you know, because they've handled him. At that point, he was, you know, reading, he was trying to come out of it, you know, but he's been handled. So
let me give them some more money and some more movies and some more whatever.
And that MK Ultra, you want to call it whatever, you know what I mean? They gotta beat it out of you.
Right.
Because no, you can't. You can't do one way to people. I mean, so it's either that or they're gonna flee.
Let's get Gerald. I know it seemed like you had a comment. Is it quick or?
Yes, please.
All right, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I see this in the prison now with where I work, just to lean back off what he was saying. You know, I see these offenders and a lot of them, let's say they get 17 years, 23 years, 9 years, and they're trying to commit suicide. And to me, it's because I feel like this world has gotten them so wrapped up in thinking that you have to be a part of this outside world and do all these different things, but you have the most imperative thing. You have access to the Bible, which is one of the things they allow them to have in the prison. You have access to the most imperative thing you could have in your life. But yet you're trying to commit suicide because you locked down now. But having this, like, to me, that's what a power is. I don't know.
They don't know the expected end.
Yeah.
That's a key. Salakia, Gerald, go ahead.
Yeah, the water, which, yeah, you sparked what you were saying, about our people, you know, for one, the way Christianity and religion set it up, they separate you from the people, with the replacement theology. So it's easy for people to say, oh yeah, Israel was stiff-necked. They were stiff-necked people. That's why the Most High rejected them, not realizing that you're still Israel, you are still stiff-necked, and he's still rejecting you because you're not turning back to his laws and commandments. Because we know the scriptures say, you know, we say, you know better, you do better. Too much is received, much is expected. You know, you have that knowledge, you expect it to live according to it. But how many times, like, do we say to ourselves when it comes to certain things, yeah, I know I don't need to be doing this, and I know this ain't right, but yet we struggle, with letting it go. And you got some people that when you really think about it in the simplest form, when you strip it down, you got some people that when they know something is wrong, they can cold turkey. They just snap. But for the most part, most people can't cold turkey. They struggle, they fall a few times before they really get it together. And I think of the illustration, if my neck is stiff because I slept wrong or something like that. And I don't care how bad you want to turn and look to the right or to the left, you just can't do it. You got to turn your whole body. You got to turn your whole body when your neck is stiff. And we're like that. We're like that in different things. As a people, we still are. So when you recognize who you are and you realize that you talking about yourself when you're talking about them stiff-necked Israelites, like you said, we're talking about ourselves, our own people. Ain't nothing new under the sun, man. We still the same way. And like I said, it's a good point you bringing out because we all need to self-reflect and think about those things. Like you play around with them people about them pork sandwiches, them biscuits and stuff like that. I mean, in our lives, it's probably something that all of us is still kind of like where we kind of know that, man, I know I should be straight. I know I shouldn't be doing this. I know the most I say. But are we being stiff? We know we need to turn the neck, but we can't. Or are we actually trying to cold turkey that thing through the Most High Spirit and doing what we need to do? Just wanted to plug that.
Absolutely. Appreciate the comments. The comments be letting me know like they into it or not. So I appreciate it because I'm thinking like, oh, this ain't, it wasn't a lot to me, but then I was like, okay, I'm seeing this, and this. And then if it's really resonating with the people, then it brings out the comments, the commentary, things that I missed, etc. So all praises for the Most High working in us. And just my last comment about our people as we get back into this, the text, our people will be so backwards. Like I know people who, don't care about the commandments at all, right? They're gonna do what they want to do, but then, and we all know them, but it's specific people I'm thinking about, but I'm not gonna say, but one day I heard them listening to gospel music. But you don't even go to the Christian church and you don't care like about the Most High says do this or don't do this. But then if you having a bad day, you listening to I never knew I could be so. I'm like,
I need something.
right. It's
Want something.
our people. Our
Yeah.
people are absolutely trips.
They want
Like,
the genie.
so let's get back into the text, man. Verse 20.
Luke chapter 1, verse 20. Wherefore the evils cleave unto us, and the curse, which Yahweh appointed by Moses his servant at the time that he brought our fathers out of the land of Egypt, to give us a land that floweth with milk and honey.
So what he's saying is the evils that cleave to us and the curse is what Moses gave to our people. Understand? All right, go ahead.
Like as it is to see this day. Nevertheless, we have not hearkened unto the voice of Yahweh our might, according unto all the words of the prophets whom he sent unto us. But every man followed the imagination of his own wicked heart, to serve strange gods and to do evil in the sight of Yahweh our heart.
That's what we all just described. They doing what they want to do, right? Chapter 2, verse 1.
You know.
Chapter 2, verse 1.
Chapter 2, verse 1 of Baruch. Therefore Yahweh hath made good his word, which he pronounced against us, and against our judges, and judged Yasharal, and against our kings, and against our princes, and against the men of Yasharal and Judah, to bring upon us great plagues, such as never happened under the whole heaven.
Such as never happened under the whole heaven, right? So Jeremiah 30 says, it's nothing been like it. Ezekiel says, I'm in captivity, and the Most High is saying, they started the captivity, but you remember they sent Ezekiel back to show what they were doing in the temples and stuff, right? So everybody wasn't out yet. And then he says to Ezekiel, it's going to be nothing like it, and it's going to be like what I told Moses, right? Keep reading.
Verse 2. To bring upon us great plagues, such as never happened under the whole heaven, as it came to pass in Yerushalayim, according to the things that were written in the law of Moses.
What was that thing that was written that he specifically wrote? Read verse 3.
Verse 3, that a man should eat the flesh of his own son and the flesh of his own daughter.
We just covered that, right? Verse 4.
Moreover, he hath delivered them to be in subjection to all the kingdoms that are round about us, to be as a reproach and desolation among all the people round about, where Yahweh has scattered them.
Tazapon. Y'all paying attention. Tazapon, scatter you. The land of the north doesn't necessarily mean north, south, east, west. Just review that class if that didn't make sense. That's why I tried to introduce it. But also, now think about this. Baruch is saying this has happened to them. You catch that? Baruch is saying Jeremiah 30, Ezekiel 5 and 8 and 9. He's saying we are in this right now. Them. Is that out of context?
I just want to mention.
No.
Still learning. Josephus records this in his generation. Josephus you can get the complete works of Josephus, is all his writings in one big volume, or you can get this was called the siege of Jerusalem. And during the siege of Jerusalem, he talks how the enemy has enclosed us, like the Most High said, and they started them out. They did. The Romans, the Romans built a trench where you couldn't get out to get water or food. And there's one story that this woman starts boiling she seasoned her son, and the meat started permeating through the streets. The brothers broke in like, why you been holding out on us? We're gonna eat that meat. So being so hungry, they wasn't in their right minds. They start eating the meat, and then they say, where's your son? She says, in the pot, and tomorrow we will eat yours. So that's why show me your nation that been through this. When these Christian apologists says, this happened to everybody. Everyone went through this. Well, why didn't your people record it? Our ancestors recorded it. The Most High did what he said he was going to do.
And go ahead.
I was gonna say also, like, I think during that siege as well, one that was trying to escape was actually trying to take some wealth. So they was actually swallowing some of their gold and different things of that nature. So when the actual soldiers got in, they got wind up, they was cutting us open, taking the gold out of our bellies, man. I mean, talk about the extent of like the gruesomeness of that judgment. I mean, that's serious.
The day shall be great. There's none like it before, and there will be none like it again. That's why I'm trying to get y'all to see. Y'all already, the answers is already out there. That's why I try to make a declarative statement in the beginning. Some teachers like to have you guess till the end. I don't like to do that because I want you to see the precepts so you can, because y'all are already in the future. Go ahead. Go ahead, Gerald.
So you know my wheels turning, so I'm gonna ask it in the form of a question, and then I kind of like build as we go further. Would you say up to this point, since you already revealed your stance and we're building on it, this captivity that Baruch in is which one? Babylon?
Right.
Okay, and it's already happening. This extreme thing that never happened before, won't happen again, has already started to happen. But we know, like everybody is talking about, when we speed up in the future, we know what happened with the fall of 70 AD. Roman, running through, kicking them out of Jerusalem and so forth, and what that triggered. So being that Deuteronomy 28 was really the foundation of all of it, blessing and the curse. And if you obey, you'll be blessed over every other nation. They will answer to you. You ain't got to deal with these things. But if you disobey, every time you go into captivity, you're going to be dealing with, things of this nature. Well, we still in captivity, and we've been going through captivity as a stiff-necked nation all throughout. So with some of these things, as long as we be in captivity, be a repeat until we no longer have to go into captivity again? Is that the extent? Or
you got it, Khan. Have you heard of the word Gilgal or Galgal?
Yeah, I heard of Gal. Yeah, y'all broke it down before.
Galgal is a rolling wheel. Galgal it's like it's a cycle. It's happening more than once. So that's I say this statement to those who follow. I say this statement: the Most High creates the formula, and then He just operates in that formula time and time and time and time again. So the way you phrase the question, to me, you're on point. You're exactly right.
Because I see it. It's crazy because that ain't the only time they was eating kids. They ate kids during the 70 AD situation. When that situation, because it's referred to there. So you can kind of see how that cycle has repeated, which makes me wonder, and again, I ain't trying to go too far, but my head's spinning, which makes me wonder, like, we know what they about to do with the food and what they trying to do, and buying up all the farmland and trying to get rid of the natural foods and GMO everything and make us rely on them, this, that, and the third. We refuse and already eat half of the stuff anyway, so we ain't gonna compromise further. Could some of our people be in the same situation where they ain't relying on the Most High and they ready to cook kids and stuff like that? I mean,
It's already happened. It's already happened. I agree. Yes. The answer to that is yes. And there's a news story. I didn't put it in here, but there's a news story about a lady that cut up her kids and was eating them like this week. So yes, those who don't have, for one, that first of all, that's a demon on her, right? So these people will be open vessels for these spirits to just come in and do what they have their way. So absolutely, as this thing heightens, those who lack the faith, that's why everybody don't come here. If I ain't seen you, like, I don't know your faith. You ain't been practicing. Look, we fast every week. You ain't been practicing how to fast. You haven't been building no type of strength. We got one loaf of bread left. We take a nap. They done got my man Verge food gone, man. Verge gonna put hands on you. That was Verge slice specifically. He's taking you out back. So it's fun. It's fun to joke about, but it's serious. It's really serious. All right, we got two hands. We're gonna go after y'all, then we're gonna go to Verge.
Yeah, the water. Just to even speak on the eating of the children situation. When I think of that, I also think of Paul writing about the last days and giving all the different characteristics of people in the last days in 2 Timothy chapter 3. And one of the things that stands out to me is he's saying having no natural affection. So to not have any natural affection to this topic, when I think of the two genders, I think of the woman, the female, how she's made up as having the most natural of affections between the two, between the man and the woman. Her affection is different, especially towards her children. So that natural affection has been taken away from her for her to even want to eat her children, because the great affection that she's developed in those 9 months of carrying that child and taking care of that child, even afterwards, is something so strong. There is absolutely no way I'm going to eat my child. Why would I even think of that? So obviously there has to be something upon her, like you said, some spirit, some evil spirit or demon that's been placed upon her for her to even do that, even in the desperation of hunger. No, a real mother is not going to do such to her child. That's her baby. It reminds me of what Denzel said in the movie John Q, which is my favorite line in all movies. He said, "I will not bury my son. My son will bury me." So even a father still has that affection for his own son, the same way as a mother has for her own child. There ain't no way that we doing that. The only way you are doing it is because the Most High can't be with you, even in that dire moment, those dire moments, or those dire straits, as the old school saying goes. So that's the scripture that comes to mind. Having no natural affection is what's going to make you do that.
And remember who's doing this? The Most High. I think Verge was next.
Actually, what I was going to say, my comment is similarly for Lavin back on what he just finished. When I just think about the hand of the Most High breaking us down, how he did in the past and in our current state, I'm like, man, for one, he's showing that even us waking up and predicting nation, it's amazing. We know only the Most High is going to be able to restore us. But I also can see where all of the trauma and everything that he's allowed happen to us, even with the other nations, is a reason why most of our people don't even think nationwide. It's almost like the trauma has stripped us of even wanting it. I heard something where they say we the only people that's not concerned with even being in control of our future. Like every other nation come to America and they set up their own little town, and you know what I mean? They set up shop. We're the only ones that's kind of content with allowing other people to control us. You know what I mean? And it's thinking about all these different things that happen to us. It's almost like our DNA, our very will has been broke down so much. Only the Most High is going to be able to restore us as a nation.
Deuteronomy 28. It's the curses. It's literally the curses. And you said it exactly right. We don't think we're not a nation. We are a nation, but we're not a nation. Does that make sense? We've not been placed back as a nation. We're not recognized as a nation, even by the world. We don't have an inheritance yet because the inheritance comes from your father. That's why they said we were 2/3 of a man, because we had no father. But that's a spiritual context. The father is the one that says this land belongs to so and so and so and so and so and so. Didn't the Most High do that? He gave the lands to the people. So that's why it's like, oh, we can just bring them into slavery because they don't have no homeland. They don't have a right, no rights. It's really, they've been telling us the whole time without telling us, if that makes sense. So it's like, well, we're not going to send them back where? What nation do they belong? We're not a nation, but we are a nation, if that makes sense. Go ahead.
Just to land back off of what you're saying, but I was just saying, again, we know the Most High is at the core of everything. Everything goes through him. This is what they were trying to do, right? That's what Psalm 73 is speaking about. Not Psalm 73. I'm sorry. Psalm was it 83?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Psalm 83, right? Crafty counsel, right? Verse 3 says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people, consulted against thy hated ones. They have said what? Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Yasha'al may be remembered no more, because they hate the Most High. And how we going to get at him? We're going to jab his people up. We're going to jack his people up. It's not real, because if they're not praising him, to them, is basically just wiping him out. You see what I'm saying? So they get at us, get our minds, our heart away from him. We're no longer praising him. See what I'm saying? Name of not Yasha'al is being remembered no more. Then in their minds, then God is not remembering.
Absolutely. And there's always a script for that. And he just brought it right out. Go ahead, Marah.
I just, as Marianne was speaking, I was like, this is full circle of what Verge brought out, that documentary most of us, watched about the 70s, the projects. If you take the man out the house, the man produces the nation. So now you take the man out the house, your nation is going to be diminished.
And who becomes the man? The government. Amen. So the man in Israel, Yasha'Allah, establishes the Torah in the house, right? So if the Torah is not established, or if the order is not established by the man now, who is it established by? The government. So now take the man out, and Marah said it, if a little boy is playing with dolls, the government says it's totally fine. So now you're going by the order of them, which leads to their Satan's agenda, which is trans, Baphomet, et cetera, all of those things. But it starts it in the small scheme of things. I'm trying to use the word simple. For them, it's a small. Just remove them. Just one thing. Just take the man out. That's step one, because you're not getting the instruction which we supposed to get from the Most High.
Us fathers, we don't let you see our little boy's son cry too much.
Right.
Toughen up. Like
right.
Just beat me.
But they get the other part from the mom. Right.
You must take over home. You got to bound the strong man.
Y'all see how the spirit is working in here? We're gonna move on. So we're in Babylon right now. Jeremiah's crew and Baruch, they're in Babylon. So now we're gonna go to Daniel or Daniel. I'm gonna go to, y'all turn to chapter 9. I'm gonna turn to chapter 1 to give y'all the roadmap that I was talking about, and I think it might be chapter 9 too. Let me see. Yeah. So chapter 1. I'm gonna read chapter 1, verse 1. The book of Daniel, chapter 1, verse 1. in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar came unto Babylon and to Jerusalem to besiege it, right? So if we go down, you'll see that that's when the people started getting, his people, Daniel's people started getting carried over, because it didn't happen where they all just got taken at once. But now by the time we flip over to chapter 9, verse 1, it says, in the 1st year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, the Persians, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. And verse 2 says, in the 1st year of his reign, I understood by the book the number of years whereof the word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. So now Daniel he's all the way to where the Persians and the Medes have taken over Babylon. They're still in the same province or location or captivity, but it's switched, that like that statue, it switched to the Media Persia captivity. That makes sense?
Slave masters changed.
The masters just changed over. So go for me, anybody, either Marion or we get Anthony. We'll get Anthony. And I want to see, make sure. Daniel chapter 9 and Daniel chapter 9. Start at verse 4. Start at verse 4.
Just 4.
Yeah, 4 on down. Keep reading.
All right, Daniel chapter 9, starting verse 4. I prayed to Yahweh and best and said, O Yahweh, the great and wonderful Elohim, keeping thy covenant and thy mercy to them that love thee, and to them that keep thy commandments. We have sinned, we have done iniquity, we have transgressed, and we have departed and turned aside from thy commandments, thy judgment. We have not hearkened to thy servants, the prophets, who spoke in thy name to our kings and our princes and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. So real quick, so now Daniel has made it all the way through to the Media Persia captivity, and he's saying we still ain't keeping the commandments as a nation, or we haven't. Individually, he's been following the Most High from his youth, but as a nation, right? So he's praying, it's not about us. If the nation is not following the Most High, we're not following the Most High. That makes sense. We still have to pray for the nation, because we know the Most High doesn't hear the sinners. So the righteous of the nation, we got to pray for the nation. That makes sense. So he's not excluding himself in this prayer. Like, Father, I'm doing right, but they're not.
That's me and my foe and no foe.
He's saying we haven't kept the Most High's commandments because it's not about him. We know if he was to leave right there at that moment, he was good, but he is praying for the nation.
Again, it goes back to when they were sitting in the camp, right? When they were sitting in the camp, it wasn't just that individual that got dealt with. The nation, felt that. Look what happened with Achan. They go out to war, and 200 men died, and they're like, well, what happened? We thought the Most High was with us.
Mm-hmm.
And then they find out that they can sinned, and then him and his entire generations get dealt with. So again, the Most High doesn't see us as individuals. He sees us as the nation. We all got to keep this thing, and that's why, if you said it last night, if your mother was tripping, Ma, you're out of here, because if you don't go, we all gonna go. Thousands might die from your transgressions.
Just like with the why, right? We use that all the time. He numbered the people, and then thousands. It's like, I ain't do nothing. We all one, and one for all, and all for one for all. Go ahead, Barra.
Yeah, I see how you feel on mine.
This is the perfect point of why each morning I try to encourage the brothers. Coach encourages all to be on our post. Because let's just take the religion now. How would you feel your young bride that you didn't even get to enjoy yet gets taken and raped by another nation because I sinned?
Mm-hmm.
You've been praying and fasting and holding yourself accountable, but your young bride get taken, or your young daughter. This thing is practical. You gotta think about the nation. Your fall may cause the nation. That's why it's just not you no more. These fringes, this covenant is real, because if I get punished and I find out I'm getting punished for you, now me and you gonna have, now I gotta pray hard. I got more to overcome. You put the burden on your brother, so I gotta get over the fact that my daughter was taken because of you. This thing is real.
So to that, and we got witnesses, so he'll know what I'm saying. But Anthony and other people that I talked to, but you just here today. So that's one of the ways I try to help people if we're dealing with affliction, if we're dealing with any type of sin. I said that to you, right? I said, if we don't walk right, we might not get the punishment, but what about somebody you love? And, I don't want to speak nothing, but I'm saying, like, it could be someone's father. You did something, but something happens to your father, mother, aunt, whatever. And we'll just think like, I don't know why this happened. And so just to your point, I used like, what next step can I help someone to maybe overcome a sin or whatever the case may be, right? And I try to get people to think outside themselves. And you could be a testament, that's stuff we talk about or talked about before. So that the way that just came out right there is very true, like, especially for us who know better, So I actually had somebody ask me that question when I went to assembly. He said, if he asked, like, have you willfully sinned after, starting to know the truth? And I couldn't think of any like willful sins that I did, but he asked a question like, who pays for those sins now? And I was just like, dang, that's a fascinating question. Because when David sinned, he didn't die, but his son died.
The brother born blind. They asked Messiah, who sinned, the mother or the father?
Right. So this is not something we're making up. This is examples. And I, love all y'all. So I'm like, look, we got to think about the people, not yourself. The Most High, if you sin is equal to, what's the punishment for sin?
Yeah.
We all in this room deserve to have been killed already, right? And online, y'all too. Right. But we know that the Most High, he has grace and mercy on whom he will have grace and mercy. He knows he's already sent the advocate for those who accept him and who are walking on his path, that if you did slip off that path, you can get back on the path and continue to follow the covenant. Not that no one can keep all the commandments, therefore we don't have to keep any of them. That's the way it's been taught to us. It's the reverse. It's we may not be able to always be quote unquote English perfect, but if not, we can get up and continue on that path. That Hebrew word we use is tamah, perfect, marked by the blood or the power of the covenant. Stay on that path, stay in that power. You're marked by the blood of Mashiach, which is the reconciliation of our sins. So the Most High forbore the punishment, we talked about that last week, that we were to receive so that we can accept the sacrifice that his son made for us. Go ahead.
Oh,
1 second.
I was gonna make a comment real quick, how, man, everything is taken from the Most High. And when you was talking about how, some of the sin of the camp, you were bringing out certain things and people that didn't even have nothing to do with it per se, or committed the act was punished. I used to hate that playing college ball. Our line coaches all, if everybody can make it to, film on time with one person, I guess a lot of team sports do it, but one dude late, he take us all out and run us into the dirt, and it makes you, the man is on the what, you're like, bro, I ain't even do it. It makes you mad at that individual. But I can see the implications that he like the spiritual, even us thinking as a nation, because it do make you move different when you say, well, even if I mess up, they gonna just deal with me. But just like it's a whole other level. When you're like, I mess up, the whole team or the whole group of guys will be punished. So it do make you move different. You know what I mean?
Besides magic and kryptonite, how do they get Superman? They got to go capture somebody that he care about to be able to, like, they got to go throw Lois off a building over here so he could he got to go get her. Then he can come back. They're going to try to get their plan off real quick, but they'll usually, and we see it in all movies, they'll kidnap somebody and then it's like, well, I ain't going to kill you, but I'm going to kill them. And then the person is like, no. Because it's just an innate thing that the Most High put in us. Like, you don't want to see something happen to somebody, especially if they ain't have nothing to do with it, you know. But now, look, we were in the loins of our forefathers and stuff, but I mean, we didn't know. We was like, so that's why one of my prayers is like, Father, like, don't let me be ignorant. Let me know so that way I can make the choice to follow you or not. You know, we just was born in captivity. Now,
Isn't that what, like, let that blood be on my children?
Right, let the blood be up. So that song this morning, I'll say yes. I was gonna say, we already said yes that we gonna do this. So now we just gotta do it. Who is first, Gerald?
yeah. So two things right quick. Because yes, I agree. All of we got multiple scriptures that supports that, you know, like even when David did the census, thousands died, and it was David's fault. When Gehazi did what he did, his whole household died. When Haman did what he did, his whole household died. You know, so we see it, but then you have the verse that says, the sins, the son won't die for the sins of the father. What the father did, if I'm saying it right, deal with that, you know, because if anybody know what that scripture I'm talking about, how does that align with that? And before I say it, and I just want to plug this in, and then we can come back and somebody deal with that, because I know somebody will think of that. You know,
it's 18.
Yeah.
It's in Ezekiel 18 to give the full. I think Anthony, you asked me about this before too, right? Yeah. So if you go to Ezekiel 18 and then go to verse 19, he's going to start to give you the context of that verse about the sins and the sins of the sons and the sins of the father. Shammai, when you have it. Shammai. Okay. So verse 19, it says, yet say ye, why doth not the son bear the iniquity of the father, when the son have done which is lawful and right, and have kept all my statutes and have done them, he shall surely live. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. Verse 21. But if the wicked will turn from all his sins that he hath committed, and keep my statutes, and do them which is lawful and right, he shall live, and he shall not die. All his transgressions that he committed, they shall not be mentioned unto him. In his righteousness that he have done, he shall live. And then okay, so just like even us, for example, because of what our ancestor did, we're in captivity, but individually we can choose to follow the Most High. And we know the Most High chose us actually, but we can choose to follow the Most High and keep his commandments. Therefore, if my father was a murderer, I'm not going to be charged with murder if I don't murder someone. I have a choice to follow the Most High's commandments, and therefore my father will be punished for his sin, but I will be accountable for my own sins. And you see examples of that as well, like just through thinking about the lines of the kings. You'll have one that was a wicked king, and then the son was a righteous king. We didn't have that many, but the son would be a righteous king, and then his son would be turned right back around and be wicked again. So does that somewhat make some sense of how that works? As a nation, we may all be punished, but individually, we can all repent and keep the Most High's commandments. And you saw individuals in each captivity that were keeping the commandments throughout. Daniel still went into captivity, but he still held on to the covenant in captivity. That makes sense?
Yeah, that's good. And I also wanted to plug. So me and Reggie saw the George Foreman movie like Thursday night, and pretty good story. I encourage y'all to check it out. Of course, you know, he's in the Christian faith, but the message in the story is pretty cool because he was a man that didn't have faith at first. It was like, well, what you mean, God? You know, I put this food on the table, you know, but then he went through some experiences that made him become a believer, even though he still need to wake up some. But one of the things that he said in an interview about his sons, they was like, why did you name all of your kids George? You know, George Jr., George the Third, George the Fourth, George. And he was like, because I wanted to instill in them early that we operate together as a unit. You ain't individuals. If one do something, we all deal with it. You know, if one is up, we all up. If one is down, we all down. And I thought that was just a good point to tie into like what you're saying now, because that is a good point. Like the Most High deal with us as a nation, as a whole. And even though individuals got faithful and did their part, you know, they still acknowledge them being a part of the nation. It wasn't about them as an individual. So I think that's a great lesson that, like somebody brought out sports, you know, a whole lot of things shows us that way of thinking. But on a spiritual level, people typically don't think that way. And it does us good to really think as a whole, you know, because it got me second guessing now how I've treated certain situations. And if I look at it from that situation, you know, it's about the nation as a whole and not just about me. It's making me want to like do some things different. So great point.
I want to just clean this up because that Ezekiel 18, this is one of the verses that the non-messianic people are going to take you to, and they're going to try to use this Ezekiel 18 to say, see, no man can die for another man's sins. And it sounds good to the unlearned or to the babe, but this is when you have to use textual criticism and know the culture. So this Ezekiel 18, you should know, he says, you shall no more have occasion to use this proverb, but he doesn't give you the exact time this takes effect. So the covenant of I shall punish the third or fourth generation was already in place. So the brothers are ignorant of the culture. That blood, when Masha sacrificed that goat and sprinkled the blood on the covenant and on us, the covenant was sealed. So this right here is a future tense. Because like we all just said, we are all in here, born in America for our fathers. Even when Messiah was being wrongly crucified, they said the sin be on our children. So if this prophecy in Ezekiel was actually in effect, they would have knew not to say that. So you can't read this text from a Greco-Roman perspective. This Ezekiel 18 to this day is not in effect. Not in effect.
I don't know. Yeah,
Did you have something, Abshaya?
Oh no, I probably forgot to put my hand down. No, I didn't have anything. Go ahead.
All right. We're going to get back and finish Daniel chapter 9. Start at verse 7, Brother Anthony.
Verse 7 says, to thee, O Yahweh, belongs righteousness, and to us confusion of face, as at this day, to the men of Judah, to the dwellers in Jerusalem, and to all Yahshua, to them that are near, to them that are far off in all the earth, wherever thou hast scattered them, for the sin which they committed. Indeed, O Yahweh, is our righteousness, and to us belongs confusion of face, and to our kings, and to our princes, and to our fathers, for as much as we have sinned. To thee, Yahweh our Elohim, belong compassions and forgiveness, whereas we have departed from thee. Neither have we hearkened to the voice of Yahweh our Elohim to walk in his laws, which he has set before us by the hand of his servant the prophet. Moreover, all Yahshua have transgressed thy law, and have refused to hearken to thy voice. So the curse has come upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of Yah, because we have sinned against him. And he has confirmed his word, which he spoke against us and against our judges who judged us, by bringing upon us great evil, such as have not happened under the whole heaven, according to what has happened in Jerusalem.
So he's using that same language that these great evils have come upon his generation, such as have not happened under the whole heaven, according to what has happened in Jerusalem. That sound like, and remember, what's the first thing it said that he started with? It said that he was reading what book? Jeremiah, Jacob's trouble. And then, does that make sense so far? Or anybody had anything? Because it's going to switch over to chapters after this. Does that make sense? So we got Jeremiah starting in the land and going into captivity, Baruch, and then Daniel living through the Babylonian into the Media Persia. And then sticking with Daniel, we're going to just go to Daniel 12 and 1. Daniel 12 and 1. Daniel 12 and 1. And you could get it. I think it's on the screen in the Septuagint. Gerald, be prepared. The next slide, I'm asking you specifically a question. Yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah, I got a question for you, brother. So can we get, I think Brother Marion, you brought this scripture up earlier, so I can let you read it.
Actually, brought
Daniel 9.
Yeah. But this goes right along with it. So Daniel 12, verse 1.
One second. I'm sorry, because I ain't have it in here. In Daniel 11, they're running down about the different kingdoms, right? And he goes all the way through, and then we get to Rome. Am I right? Am I saying that right?
I know the Queen of the South.
11, like what? Right. So by the time you get after chapter 11, he's explaining all the kingdoms, but now you're at Rome as far as we can see and understand. So now you're at 12 and 1, and he says what? Read.
Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people.
He said, at that time. Now remember, it's no chapter breaks, right? So he's saying at the time where Kittim is doing something, then what?
And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was, since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book.
They shall be saved out of it, right? So now he's saying now there's going to be a time of trouble, Jacob's trouble, right? But then we seen how they've already seemingly professed to have been in Jacob's trouble, right? That's why I got up here, I put Babylon, 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 Medes, Persia, and then right here, I got future. And then Gerald said earlier, is this something that is seeming to happen over and over and over again? Said, yes. Right? You had something? A thought?
Nah, I'm just trying to follow.
Okay. Because it's like, what's going on? But yeah, it's again, it's a continual, because nobody's been saved out of it yet. At least as a nation, for sure. So my question is to everyone first, by a show of hands or a con, how many of y'all have heard of the Great Tribulation? So that's my question for Gerald. How have you originally, the first question would be, how have you been taught about the Great Tribulation, and then what do you think the Great Tribulation is personally? It doesn't matter if it's, your opinion or not, so those two things. What have you been taught, and then what is your opinion?
So as a Jehovah's Witness, that's a key word for them. Great tribulation. That's all they talk about. And they replacement theology that thing to the point where it's like Jehovah's Witnesses will be the ones going through the Great Tribulation, because the nations, Gog and Magog, and everybody will be turning against them to specifically attack them. Once Babylon is exposed and they the last true worship left standing, then they're going to start attacking them. And then that's when Jehovah is going to come in. It's like touching the apple of his eye. Like putting your finger in his eye. He's going to react by sending Christ. And then that's how they're going to get redeemed to go into they paradise earth, which they don't really give you details about. So that's how it's been taught. How I've learned it now. I personally think the Great Tribulation, and is parallel to what we're talking about. I think the Great Tribulation is a part of Jacob's trouble, and without the replacement theology, I would personally say it's talking about Israel as the focus of having to go through these tribulations. Now, it appears in prophecy that time period will have some effects to the rest of the earth too. But the focus of it is Israel, the Most High's people. That's how I answer that at the moment.
I appreciate your participation and willingness to answer those questions. I'm not gonna yay, nay, or comment yet. I want to ask one more person. Gerald was a Jehovah's Witness, so I need a Christian, quote unquote, to answer the same question. You know what I mean? Someone who grew up as a Christian. I need a former Christian to answer that question. Look, our people be on it. Don't call me no. What you? I was just gonna say that. I was like, you calling me? You cussing me, boy? Don't be calling me no Christian. Go ahead.
I always knew that the rapture, I was talking about that get out. Or what was it? Left Behind. I said, yeah, movie Left Behind. But it's kind of like, Christians will be raptured, and then everyone else will be left in this, great tribulation. So that's how in my mind, that's how I play out.
Con, and now a part of this lesson, not this today, but I can put in here about the rapture if y'all want me to. Actually, probably next week, I'll try to see if I need to explain it but we will talk about that at the end. So yeah, that's how I've traditionally heard it as well. Now that you got Gerald and we got Verge, just anybody have a comment about this? I don't want to quench no spirit, so if anybody had anything on their mind about this before I go to the next slide. Okay, so turn to so Gerald, I agree with what your opinion, what you believed that to be is that it seems to be, we were taught that this great tribulation is to come. It's a great tribulation, and it's, you know, the world, all these things is going to happen, and the sun is going to do all these things, and things will be falling out of the sky and all kinds of stuff. But the focus of this book is who? Right? So, and that's why I talk about, I didn't put this in here, this is just off the cuff. When it says there shall come a falling away first, if the whole book has been about one people, the falling away, so they was falling away from Christianity. No, the falling away has to be Jerusalem, Israel, the Israelites, Yasha Allah being taken down. Not that we just, I don't believe it, because some of them didn't believe in the Messiah. So it's not that specifically, it's the nation falling up. Before the man of sin could be revealed, the nation has to, Psalms 83. And the man of sin, and I don't want to, you know, go too far into that, but that makes sense. Go ahead.
That's crazy. Would you say, that's like, I would ask you, like, when we talk about the captivity, and like, when we talk about the Great Tribulation, would that be the culmination of all these? You know, we came out of the Greek and Roman, and now we in America, so would that Great Tribulation be like, they actually said that they borrow all those tactics and even doing like even more of a psychological deal on us, even necessarily physical. Would there be a culmination of all?
Remember, we still in Rome. They had a deadly wound and the wound was healed. So yes, like correct, but we're still under Rome, basically. We're still under Rome. So the declarative statement was the Great Tribulation is about the Israelites, and the Great Tribulation is already happened, and is continuing to happen. That's the declarative statement. So turn to Matthew chapter 24. And start at verse 4. I'll read it. Actually, I'll read it. Let me turn to it. Matthew chapter 24, and yeah, I'm gonna just because I'm gonna read it.
I'm sorry, what's that verse on?
Verse 4. Yeah.
24.
Yeah. Shema. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 4. And Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name. Name in Hebrew, if he was saying this, is Sham. So many will come in my representation, my character, my fame, and saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For a nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places. All these are beginning of sorrows. Verse 9. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. Verse 11, many false prophets shall rise and deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many will wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So you got to endure to the end to be saved. You can't just say a prayer and then that's it. And name it and claim it. And this gospel or basar of the kingdom shall be preached into all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Verse 15, when therefore you shall see the abomination of desolation. If we would have kept reading, we would have gotten more into that. And people tell you, you know, the abomination of desolation and all these things is things to come. But he tells you, spoken by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee unto the mountains. Why? This is just hitting me. So why would, if you saw an abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, he would immediately say, after that, then you should flee? Because picture this in real life. Let's say this was the temple of the Most High. Somebody of another nation was allowed to come in and desecrate the holy temple. That should be a sign that the Most High ain't with us no more or right now. Therefore, we need to run. And that makes sense why he would say it like that. If you see this, you need to go. So verse 17, let him which is on the housetop not come down and take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. It's over for you. And woe unto them that are with child and to them that give suck in those days. But ye pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Verse 21, for then shall be great tribulation. The exact words that the so-called Christians and Jehovah's Witnesses use, he just went before that verse, explain all these things that's going to happen. And he says, then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. Jeremiah 30, Jacob's trouble, great tribulation. It's the same thing. Y'all see that? Am I making this up? If it's
No.
if you disagree, I am open to, you know, commentary or your thoughts. But remember, you got to produce witnesses. I'm willing to listen to your, you know, statements, but to disprove, you got to do the same thing I've done and show witnesses that that's incorrect. Go ahead, Gerald.
My bad. Thanks. But yeah, this is why, like this is what sparked. So I figured you was gonna come here, and I was anxious waiting for you to get here, because this is what one of the scriptures that triggered my mind when you were saying it, and the way it's taught doctrinally as Jehovah's Witness. Like I never paid any attention to those other prophecies, like the way you broke. That's why it's necessary for you to break down their timeline and to walk us through, like what the prophets were saying when they were saying it. Because each of those time periods, they were saying this ain't never happened since the founding of the world or will ever repeat again, you know. But then in another dispensation during another prophet's time, when they was going through their trouble and their captivity, they said the same thing. And now, but the one we get taught the most, because it's all about New Testaments. They don't really mess with the Old Testament. So you don't know anything to compare it to. You think this the first time they talking about a great tribulation, talking about the last days that ain't never happened before since the beginning of the world and won't repeat again. So you thinking just the last days is significant over the others. It ain't, no, it's been Jacob's trouble the whole time. They've been in captivity. Because the verse said, that you brought out, earlier. I can't remember what it was, but again, the trouble is over when we are in peace and quiet back in the land. Once we return, that's when the trouble is over. So the moment we've been under captivity of other nations, subjected to other nations in a lowered state, Jacob been dealing with trouble in all kinds of ways since, you know. So this, man, this is good. This is really good, man. This is really good. Hanging out.
Thank you, the water, for that, Ark, and all praise to the Most High for him. I pray, like when we talked about those 7 spirits, I'll pray and say, Father, can you bestow the spirit of wisdom, the spirit of understanding upon me so I can share it with y'all. So all praises to the Father. Now to an immediate, we're not gonna stay here because I'm gonna do that later. But if you go down to 29, this is talking about the return of Christ or Yahushua. Matthew 24 and 29. It's going to be a whole, just like this class is dedicated to Jacob's trouble for the most part. It's going to be a whole class dedicated to the Messiah coming back. So just to touch on it, because you said it's not the end of Jacob's trouble until we're saved out of it and we're back in the land. So right here in 29, it says, immediately after the tribulation, immediately after Jacob's trouble, because it's a continual thing. And then it just goes down and it tells you that eventually it leads to the Son of Man coming back. But I don't want to go, I cut it short because I don't want to go deep into it. I'm going to do a whole, we're going to talk about it like we're doing today. So we already talked about this next part, which was the contract. I couldn't remember where I put this part, but we already talked about this. Deuteronomy 28 and 53, Jacob's trouble or Jacob's straightness, Tazarah. He foretold of it all the way back in this contract, and we agreed to it. So just reiterating that all of that we just read about that trouble and that tribulation, he told us this was going to happen before it happened if we didn't keep his commandments. And each generation, we've all said, even today, we're still not keeping the commandments as a nation. So the Jacob's trouble is we're still receiving this part of the contract, not necessarily each individual, we kind of are, but we don't know every single thing that's happening to every single person. I was about to say about the thing about eating people, but we just said how the news report just came out. So,
but that, just to keep it in context, that eating people was for us, our punishment.
Yeah, that woman was an Israelite, right? Yeah, she was an Israelite. So it was I didn't watch it. I just, no. Oh yeah, that's what we're saying. That's what we were saying. That's what, yeah. That was an Israelite.
That shows natural slavery is round up babies.
I've heard about that too. Yeah. Yeah, if it's true, that's in everything. Yeah, that's in everything. So, right, 100%. That's in everything.
Think about that. There's not that many tiles and this and that or whatever for all these restaurants and things like that have all this beef and all this meat, all this chicken. There's not enough.
Yeah. The foul bread. That's why he had Ezekiel do what he did, right?
They market McDonald's a lot of times for us to what you buy actors and athletes, and they put over a truck and come down the head.
Even it was a video that Ashkenazi came out and said that they do that. They ground up the people and send it to the restaurant. So yeah.
On Wednesday to us and found hot and that they actually advertise Hebrew National. So I'm not sure.
Just
But
look.
they saying the only ones that were safe was the Hebrew strand of hot dog.
Hebrew National.
Yeah, Hebrew National. They saying that was the only one that was safe.
Look, the way it's everywhere. That's all I can say. Just thank the Most High that he put in the commandments that there is forgiveness for sins of ignorance. That's all you could do. That's all you can do. Because of course we're asking the Most High, like, hey, we recognize, we save us, please. This is the punishment that we still got to carry out. Some stuff you just don't know, you won't know, you can't control. So don't let it recognize it. If you can see it and understand it, then that's when you start making changes. But if if you don't, or you didn't, don't feel bad, don't beat yourself up. This is a part of the foul bread. Marah was okay, so Gerald, I can say about that. Gerald said too, or stop eating meat, right? But that's not the answer, because it's in the plans. And specifically, me and the Neal family, we literally just talked about this like 2 days ago. Did you have something?
I don't know how this pertains to revelation. There was commanded that they should not hurt the grass, the earth, not the seal of God in their forehead. So I was just thinking, like, I know he gave us commands to follow, so we know what is clean and what is not. So will they have the power to touch things that are considered clean, or would it just be or the hybrid? Because I was listening to something, I don't know if you sent it to us, to Maria, but the woman specifically said chickens and pigs, that they were going to put the mRNA vaccine in, or whatever, mRNA. So I don't know, I was just thinking, like, can they touch everything?
I mean, they're in control.
But to an extent, though, right?
Well, we know, the Most High is allowing them to have that.
I would say that situation, the only thing we got to trust in is 2 Ezra 15.
Right.
You can't even imagine the incredulity of their thoughts against you.
Yeah.
And then I'm standing and I'm trusting in that the Most High gonna have us in Goshen.
Right.
All of us, no matter where we're at, the ones in Ghana, the ones in UK, all of us who are cleaving to his law the best we can, he's going to provide us a Goshen wherever we are. So, like, if all of us caravan to Charlotte, he's going to show us where to go. He has to keep his word to us. Yeah. So, I mean, he's going to provide for us. Yeah. And the hurt, not the earth. I mean, in relation to that, it seems to be that the context is the ones that were, you said which verse? Revelation 9:4. Yeah, the ones that are is that marked? What does it say? Sealed. Don't touch them, right?
So that's the perfect witness to what I'm saying. So if he's saying don't hurt the earth till I seal those ones who are marked, that means their land, where they're at.
And everybody else that's not sealed is fair game. But the same thing happened in Ezekiel 9. He went through, marked those that they were upset about. I want to remember, let me just turn to it real quick. Let me turn to it. I just read that to you. Ezekiel 9. Verse 4. Verse 4 says, and Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. See, when we come in here, we're praying, we're like, Father, we just did it. Father, abominations. They're trying to poison us. They're trying to kill us. Your people having ultimate bacon sandwiches. They don't want to keep your commandments, Father. So it shows that we are reverencing his law, statutes, and commandments. Mark those people.
And I don't want to go too far, of course, but I just believe in the power of the great I am. Like we're saying, they put babies and everything. Right as you're putting that defiled meat up to your mouth, a Malachi can come and just cleanse that thing. You know, cleanse it. Seven's always going negative. But he can just cleanse it for you, and you don't even know that Malachi just cleansed the food. Because we've been eating this stuff since we were kids over here. We should all be the tumors, you know, you know what I mean? So the Most High has been keeping us. Like, I haven't had a real banana since like 87. Like, I just realized that like 10 years ago, like, where's the seed marks in the banana? You know, so.
Or like, I'm sorry.
No, you got it.
You know, Mark 16, we just talking about it. 17, 18. And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils. They shall speak with new tongues. They shall take up serpents. They shall drink any deadly thing. It shall not hurt them. If they shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover.
That's 2 witnesses.
You said it was
Mark 16.
When we all together like Voltron, boy.
That's why I love this, man. Like, we don't have to worry about nothing, man. Most High got us covered.
That's why I try to, that's why I'm sorry, just gonna say this real quick. If it's something you see, read, watch, and can understand, then you can start making those changes. And we've all started making changes, you know, as we go. And then it's some things that's like, you know, I don't even know if I could prove this. I'm taking the people who are manufacturing this word that is good, and then I'm taking the word of somebody that's showing me this video that is not. I can't even, some things we can see and understand, some things we can't. But Joyce, and then I want to go back to what Miss Joy was talking about.
I was gonna say you got Ninja.
Okay, so I'm gonna go real quick to what Miss Joy was saying. It's at verse 5. So now the ones that are not marked, verse 5 in Ezekiel 9 says, and to the others not marked in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have pity. Slay utterly the old, the young, maids, little children, and the women. But come not near, exactly, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary.
We know man is just a poor translation for a person.
So again, when he says mark ta, which represents the covenant, us following the covenant, you will be marked in your foreheads. Those that are following after the beast, you're not keeping the commandments, you'll be marked by the beast, mark of the beast. Even if it'll be a physical digital ID chip, all that. But the reason you have the digital ID chip mark, all of that, is because your power of your brain or your mind, and then the power in your hand is following after them and not the Most High. So you're already marked by the beast mentally before you do it physically. We're marked by the covenant. We're marked by the blood. Tamah, again, perfect in Hebrew. That makes sense? Gerald, Afshiyah. We'll go to Afshiyah, then Gerald.
Yeah, the water. All this stuff is good. Yeah, that couple of points that Ezekiel chapter, yeah, that chapter 9, that's one of my favorite ones. That's one of the ones that I keep dear to me, you know, because everybody's talking about getting the mark. Well, we see from here that the Most High has a mark, you know, and to get that is to come back to these law, statutes, and commandments, and that's going to make you sigh and groan over the things that you see in whatever city or country that you're in, because you're going to know these things are detestable to the Most High, so therefore it should be detestable to you, and therefore you're crying aloud for your people to turn back as you're trying to turn back yourself. And it says for us to not to feel pity. And when I look at this, it doesn't seem, or it doesn't read that it's talking about other nations of people. This is talking about our own people that we should not be feeling pity for, because they should be coming back, and they're not. Even after we cried and told them this, that, and the other. And even if you go through, even if you've just been a Christian in church, and if you old school, another 80s baby like me, I've heard those hard messages even in church.
Yes, sir.
And our people still don't turn from that. We were still getting hard messages in church still. They don't do it like they don't do it now, but back then, yes, they was telling us. And even if you were scared straight, well, good, because that's what was good for that time period for us, for us to be right in some kind of way. You know, it wasn't all the way, because it wasn't, you know, coming back to the Torah, but it was still scaring you straight still. And they don't even do that no more. And that's just for that chapter. But what I was also thinking of when it comes to Yahushua talking about the end, as you touched on in Matthew 24, I was thinking about what he also said in Luke 21:24. I could read that.
Yeah, you can read it. I had that written down, but I didn't feel the need to do both. Luke 21.
Luke 21:24.
Go ahead, brother.
It says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So going back to that 70 AD, as he's obviously stating right here, we know the historical context. But then he also ends by saying Jerusalem will be trodden down by the Gentiles until the Gentiles, to the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So we know that the Gentiles in this context is the nations and somebody else. These Revelation 3:9 and 2:9 that are there trotting down Jerusalem, you know, or wherever Jerusalem actually is, because who even knows now with all the information out there. But still, we see here that it's Yahweh's time. He's the one telling the beginning and to the end. So it's not until he says or sees fit when those Gentile times are being fulfilled. So until then, we're in our captivity. We're in the place of we're being displaced, and we're not in our own land, and it's going to be trodden down by the Gentiles, you know, until their time period is fulfilled, until Yahweh says, okay, no more wickedness. You can't do that no more. You've done enough. You know, until that time, we got to wait, because Yahushua is saying right here too, it's until their time is up that we get our time.
I'm glad that you did go here. All praise to the Most High, because that scripture, that verse is like the perfect capstone to the Jacob's trouble. I did have that written down, but I don't think I had that specific verse, because I know the whole 21 is mirroring 24. But what it just made me think about was the tribulation, or Jacob's trouble, is directly coincided or tied into the city, or Jerusalem represents the city, but also the people being trodden down by the Gentiles. So their time being up and our time being up, it can't be both at the same time. So it has to, you see what I'm saying? So when we take over, they're done. As they're ruling, we're destroyed. So I'm all praise to the Most High for using you to bring that out. That was a great capstone to that particular part. I did want to say about Jacob's trouble, and then we got Gerald. How can we seen that, and the scattering across all nations has to be a part of the trouble, because Yahushua just said it, that you will be scattered, and then the Gentiles are going to continue to trodden down until the end. So he just gave us that this thing is been happening. We saw from the elders, and then Yahushua comes and says that this is what it looks like from now to the future, because even for them, the future was after his death.
Right.
So, and we were a part of the people who were the scattered. So it's going to continue. The last point I wanted to make about the trouble specifically was, how can we see that this is never have been done before and never will be done again? Think about all the things that has been a part of the curses and that they've been through and our immediate ancestors have gone through. And the thing, even though people, we think that we haven't been through a lot because it may not have been physical, but psychological and mental. We don't even know our homeland. We don't even know what tribe technically, or what household, what great ancient leader or man. We don't know any of that. And for a nation to be beat down physically, to be starved out, to be able to be forced to eat your own children, to be able to lose your land and not have a place to go back to have your name erased. This is the part I want us to, of course, this has never happened before. This is the Most High didn't even want to do this to us. Because what he's going to do to the other nations is, you're just done. Go ahead.
While you just giving that soliloquy, it's amazing. No, it's Yah. It's Yah amazing that you beat us down like you said you would. And the only nations that you, I guess keep it simple, the only nations you Gentiles have been able to dig up and find the relics are all the nations that conquered us. Babylon, Persia, y'all got relics, y'all got stones, not cartoons. Y'all got stones that say how you captured Jerusalem. I got the king of Jerusalem as my slave. No other nation, you're not finding no relics nowhere else. So when people say it happened to everybody, why can't they can't find your relics nowhere?
And remember, he said, I'm gonna do this in their sight. Of course they're gonna record it. I'm gonna embarrass y'all. I'm gonna make y'all a spectacle. He taking you out in front. If you was in a camp, he taking you in front of the camp, pulling your britches down and going to work in front of everybody. That's what he's doing.
They never got a woman outside.
That's why they surely can do whatever to us. You know what I'm saying? That God ain't thinking about them.
Their God has forsaken them.
Their rock has forsaken them.
I said on mine, Jeremiah 50:5, we don't know the way home.
Khan, good precept. Naraya got a quick comment about what I just said. I just wanted to close off that Jacob's trouble and how we can see that it's never happened to anyone else, and why he would say it, the magnitude that this ain't never been done in the whole earth, and after we're done, it will never be done again. Naraya and then Gerald.
That's why I look at this whole captivity or Jacob's trouble like a Trojan horse almost. Because even though the Most High scattered us in the four corners of the earth, he knew that he was going to lift us up. And we're going to start witnessing against the nations so that he can make an end to them. I don't know if Mariah brought it out during the prayer calls this week or if y'all brought it out today. But somebody had brought up a precept where the Most High said, though I make an end to all the other nations, yet will I not make an end to thee. So the only way for him to judge is if somebody speaks a word to somebody. That's why Most High said, he ain't gonna do nothing unless he lets his people, the prophets, know. We know we the children of the prophets. So,
it's called kicking it.
So that's ultimately, when you was reading Matthew 24, that's what I got from what Mashiach said. And this report shall go to all nations, and then the end will come. If Christianity was that report, the end would have been came. Because everybody know about Christianity.
And two, we might have to revisit this, but if you go back and review the Tazapon, remember, we talked about how even in the scattering, it was a concealing at the same time. He was saving you. So that leads into what you just said. Even though we were destroyed as a nation and scattered, even in that, the Most High was still keeping us. And he told us that too. It's always going to be a remnant. So, you know, Gerald, you got it. And then we're going to close out. It's maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, like maybe like 4 slides or so, 4 or 5 slides. You got it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to speak. It's a line of thought, and this is just how I think, you know, and I'm just gonna speak it to the family, and everybody can do what they do with it. So I'm not saying either or, but we gotta rethink how we view food going into the peaks of these troubles, these tribulations, because when you think about it, it's consistently in the scriptures. You know, what was it that got our people in the past, you know, and, you know, coming out of Egypt, you know, it was the luxuries of what they were able to eat, even though they was in slavery. You know, they wanted certain foods and stuff that they couldn't gain access to. Most High provided, of course, but it wasn't what they wanted. They wanted that meat. They wanted that meat. So I'm gonna give it to you until it come out your nose, you know. Then, you know, you think about like they come out and they saying, some experts are saying, some scientists, people throughout the world are coming out saying that in March they started telling farmers to inject the mRNA vaccine into the pork, into the beef, you know. But then of course they're going to come out and say, nope, that's false, that's not true, ain't such a thing, we ain't telling them to do that. But if they're trying to sneak it into people that they know that don't want to take it willingly, then they, of course, they might try to sneak it in some kind of way. So we don't trust these people, you know. So, but when you think about it, like as things get more, and even cooking your babies, cooking your kids, like Mariah referred to earlier with the Josephus account, they smelled that meat, they wanted to come eat that, so they come and eat that meat, and come to find out you eating somebody's kid, you know. So it's like, and then the last thing I say, when you think of scientifically the makeup of our body, you know, like how certain meats stay in our system way longer than it should when we supposed to be regular, you know, multiple times daily and stuff like that. So our diet, what we eat, does matter in multiple ways. And I just think, you know, that if we, you know, along with the fasting, if we prepare ourselves and rethink food and nourishment and what we need, if we see it as nourishment and not just an enjoyment thing, going into this captivity, praying to the Most High that we don't give in to some of the temptations and stuff that our forefathers have in the past, all because we can't have the luxuries to eat the things that, you know, we're used to eating. So from that standpoint, when I said, or just don't eat the meat at all, you know, I mean, I'm trying my best to, you know, break away from certain things, you know. But like I said, I do think it's just it's some principles in it that we can learn from, and I just wanted to share that.
Khan, I appreciate it, and you know, this is probably just the Most High because, you know, like I said, this conversation or something similar has came up, you know, throughout the week. So first, I will say, you know, me and Naraya, you know, I believe this first declarative statement: eat according to the Torah. That's what I believe, and I don't, because I'll have people even at the job, because I'll tease them about unclean foods. One girl is a vegetarian, so she'll be like, but you still eat meat though, and meat has this, and this. And I'm like, yeah, but I eat according to what the Most High said was okay to eat. If the Most High came down and said, son, don't eat meat, then I would do that. So, and I'm not saying anything against what you just said, because what you just said, I believe, is very important. So that was the first declarative statement that people, if they see this video later, I don't want them to think that we're saying, you know, oh, I can't eat clean meats. eat according to the Torah. To me, that's your safest bet. Now, realizing you're in captivity, I was telling the Neal family this week, I said, I believe, this is a personal opinion. I said, well, first, let me address this. The vaccines there, we just showed in the video, either the week before, they're soaking the plants in the materials that's making that they use for the vaccines. So it's the plants, and they're chemtrailing, and they're destroying the soil in the ground. And they're either destroying seeds, and they're making fruits and vegetables without seeds. So that's already an abomination. So I say all that to say, I said something similar to the person that was a vegetarian. Because she was saying she was trying to get her kids to get off of meat also. And then I said, but it's in the vegetables too. But she said, basically paraphrasing, I'm gonna just say it like this. If I know Marah has some seeds, or Sister Joy has some seeds of, she got some fresh strawberries or some fresh watermelon, whatever the case may be, it's easier for her to like plant. You could do that in your backyard, right? For now. I can more readily trust and maybe get access to foods that are not meats as the system continues to fall. So I said, you know what? I have to concede. That's a good point. In the future, as things get shut down, we won't be readily able to go and slaughter a cow. So it might just be what I say to y'all, rice and beans. But yeah, of course we know the Most High can do anything, but like practically, like, I can see that. Yeah, as it's going down, your diet may change to where you only can eat vegetables and fruits because that's all you have access to. When this guy and these noodles, man. But until that point, the safest bet is eat according to the Torah. And if one believes that he should only eat vegetables, that's one. And then if the person believes they can eat all things according to the Torah, that's clean, that's okay too. They might just be different levels of either belief or faith. We know what the New Testament says, not trying to say it in a derogatory way, but I do personally believe that as the years continue and things go down, the people who are wise like us, our diets probably will change to where we're saying, okay, yeah, we only eat meat ever so often, or now we only eat vegetables because they're poisoning all the meat. So that's my personal belief. Marah had his hand first, then Marianne.
This is why I've been preaching, to use that word, for years. I used to do a segment on my breaks called 10 Minutes with the Prophets. When you get strong in the prophets and prophecies, it puts your mind at ease. Because let's going back to the poisoning the plants and stuff, and seeing baby fetus and MRA and all that stuff. Let's go back to Uncle Yawasop, Joseph. Remember the woman was kept trying to entrap him, and then she put some stuff in his food. Mm-hmm. The spirit came to him and set him something in the food. He still ate it. And he ate it. And so this is why you got to get strong in the process, because we're about to see some things. It's going to shake those of us in Israel. Mm-hmm. That's what everyone says. Shalom and fringes, they're not going to be here. They're not, because you haven't really latched on to the Most High. You have to latch on to the Most High like a newborn on his mother's paps. And you have to learn these prophecies. Just like he did it before, he's going to do it again. Now let's go. They done poisoned the earth and took all the good soil out. There's no more nitrogen, hydrogen in the soil. Remember when Elijah went on the run, what happened, y'all? A raven fed him. That's why, like, you have to let go your little bank account, your little college degree. All that is done. And then the next point, the last point, I'm gonna yield to going back to telling people not to eat meat and stuff. we can't fall into the same traps of Christianity, making up sins. I saw a post a couple of weeks ago from Israelites, cussing is a sin. And it sounds good. And yes, we should watch our tongue. We should be talking like we did in the world. But how do we define sin?
According to the Torah and what all the words that the Most High commanded.
Sin is transgression of the law and whatever. So now you got Israelites teaching, wanting to make up new sins. You just transgressed. You just added to the. So we have to be mindful of that. So if it's your personal preference, like to eat meat, don't make it a sin, because you just sinned making it a sin. But our King, after his resurrection, was on the beach eating fish. Come on.
There you go. Sin is the transgression of the laws. Again, like you said, we shouldn't have filthiness come out of our mouth, but like you said, it's not sin. It's not sin. Torah's not saying about that. Back now, boss. Track what I was gonna say.
It'll come back.
That was good. If I get it back.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. There you go. According to what you were saying, Shamaria, it kind of lands back off of what I'm saying as well. Just really diving in and seeing how our forefathers, lived in, according to Torah. And like we were just having this discussion a couple of weeks ago. We've been taught, all these abominable ways of the nations, gorging ourselves and, just like, the gluttony, you got to eat 3 times a day and, meals in between and all of these things, such and such and such. But for us, that's not true. We don't eat like that, so even now, and I've been doing this for a while, actually, just training my body to eat, once a day.
That's what I pretty much do for the most part.
Just once, once a day, things like that. And I'm good. I'm sharing with Chef. There's a couple of times that the Most High literally had me fast for, straight dry, 40 days, 40 nights, and my wife can attest to it. I was able to do it, first couple of days was a struggle. After that, I was good. I was honestly good. Like he was literally just sustaining me, you know what I mean? And, it's constantly in prayer. And it's just like that, what that scripture says, Mark, that we just read about, these things will not harm us, such and such. What he said in the beginning, to them that believe.
Wow, the way you ended that, what I was going to say is your measure of faith allowed you to partake in that. And the way you, wow. Also, too, I see you, brother. To that point about Joseph, double check that, because I was going to do a class about Joseph, not a class, but like a part of a class to show about what I told Naraya yesterday in the car about the afflictions. And sometimes you pray for things to be taken from you, but the answer that you get or the solution might come in the form of something that seems negative. But in the testament of Joseph, it says he didn't eat the food. So we were just remember that. Yeah. Because he said he still ate it, and I don't know.
I just know I was pointing out the fact that the Spirit, the Most High sent the Spirit.
That was in there. The Spirit told him, and what I heard, I did listen to this at work, and what it made me think of is when they say women put like roots in the spaghetti and all that type of stuff. That's what it made me. That's what it made me think of, and I'm like, dang, they was, I believe this story. I believe it. And it said that, he got the word that she put enchantments on this food, and then he said he didn't eat, and she came and was like, why you ain't eating? And then now I don't know what it says in the conventional text by heart. I don't know.
I think it did say it in the Testament.
Yeah. Yeah. Now in the conventional text, if he did, we got the Genesis and the.
I don't think it's in there.
Okay.
I think that's one.
Well, it's in the Testament. I got it right here. I double checked. Chapter 1, verse verses 49, 50, 51, 52. But I was gonna save this but it just keep coming out. I just told him that yesterday.
I don't think it's in there.
Yeah, chapter 1, if y'all want to see just specifically about that part, is chapter 1, 49, 50, 51. It says, yeah, why is it thou hast not eaten the food? It is because thou hast filled it with deadly enchantments. And how sayest thou, I come not near to idols, but to Yahweh alone. So
You said 50?
chapter 1, I read 52, but it's 50, it's 49, 50, 51, 52, 53.
What chapter?
1.
Chapter 1?
Yeah.
In Genesis?
No, the Testament of Joseph.
Yeah, I don't think Genesis records it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's confusing. Yeah. That's why I was saying I don't know if it's in Genesis or not.
I can't remember. I think it records how he ran from her. Right. Like, I don't think it goes into.
All it says is like he came out of his clothes or something and he ran from her. I see. So now after, okay, I'm seeing that too.
Oh, that's Testament. Okay.
I have a cat. But that thou mayest learn that the wickedness of the ungodly have no power. Okay, so now it does seem he does eat it, and that's why we go to it so we can see. After he didn't eat it, she asked him why he didn't eat it. Now he's saying he is going to eat it just to show the power of the Most High.
Because this is in the book of Joshua, and that's what I was looking for. At first, she was looking at him, pretty much what you said.
Yeah.
He prayed that he declared the power of the Most High to protect him from him.
Right, and I think that shows both diatribes. Like he knew better, so he did not eat. But just to show the power of the Most High, he prayed, and then he did eat to show that if I did need to eat this, the Most High can keep any harm from me. So I think that covers that whole spectrum of, that conversation. So all praises to the Most High. Thank you as well. And I still appreciate you opening up that conversation, Gerald, because it's things that we've been thinking about, like what are we going to do? Afshia?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Afshia.
Yeah, that reminds me. I just posted it in the chat, but all this whole conversation of food, and everybody is giving their opinion based on or thoughts based on scriptures, which is always beautiful to be able to have, because we know there's plenty places in this awakening amongst our people we can't even have the conversation to even hash out any point, which is horrible in itself. But that's part of that evil eye, where we still come into this awakening and still can't get along to even have the discussion. But here we're still able to actually have the discussion. So it's a beautiful thing that we're able to do that, give our different thoughts to come to some kind of conclusion, or even if we just leave it up in the air, because it's Most High's will going to be done anyway. But the scripture that comes to my mind is Numbers 23:23. Because we keep saying enchantment, this, that, and the other. Numbers 23:23. Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Israel. So that's the one that comes to my mind. Obviously, you gotta be actual Israel, because not all Israel is Israel. So if you fasting, praying, coming back to law, statutes, commandments, trying to get along with people, trying to do right, everything possible, then you can count yourself. Most High's will be counted as actual Israel or actual Jacob, where this no enchantment can't come against you or this divination.
Absolutely, 100% agree. I think that verse that we was reading and that example, he shows that
Man, the Septuagint takes it a step further. It says, for there is no divination in Jacob, nor enchantment in Israel. In season it shall be told to Jacob and Israel.
Oh yeah, that brings it out, just showing that the Most High, he just said it, the Most High has to reveal these things to us in his Moadim, this period of time. So man, the Most High brought that full circle.
Him and Gerald tag team this year over year.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say, I learned from that dialogue. I like that dialogue that just stemmed from that because it did help. I see things differently, especially with that Joseph account. But just personally, I just wanted to say how it just made me recognize how serious, going to the Most High, praying to the Father before we eat our food, what some people call say our grace, what that means, because the way it's taught to us as kids is just reciting, God is great, God is good, let us think of our food and stuff. And then people grow up, they tend to either not pray, before they eat their food, or even when we do pray. Personally, sometimes I know I do like a quick little rush joint, and it starts sounding monotonous. Sometimes it started sounding the same. So that dialogue just made me really recognize, how serious I need to take that thing, because for Joseph to be able to do that, reject it the first time because of what it was, but then turn around and be able to pray and say, I'm gonna do it so the Father can show, his power. That's huge, that's huge. That's like huge to me. So I definitely need to take my prayer before I eat my food a lot more serious and make sure that I have a lot of faith and intention behind it.
Me too. I agree. I agree. Go ahead, brother. Verge.
I was going to actually, I had two things. I was going to back up a little bit. First with the food, I was going to say that I don't think we realize to the extent how much the Most High have protected these people, because they're targeting us from the beginning. Even when we didn't move, he was giving us blocks of cheese. I grew up in projects like that. So the government giving us stuff, and they still are amazed why they've taken us out. I think that's the Most High. I know Pop said we like roaches. And it's the truth. When you look at how much they target us, how the atrocities that they have studied us, trying to study our makeup, this melanin, and they still can't take us out. They can't. I know that's the hand of the Most High. Even with them, we was talking about sex with them spraying the sky. Then they said, "Oh, it's aluminum." The people, the scientists, whoever, they making their crops resistant to aluminum. Like, why are you doing it? They know that, but they still cannot take us out. That's just Most High's people, and I think sometimes we miss the Hebrew boys, because I know in church we always did the Daniel fast, and that was to wait. But really, the purpose of that thing is the Most High. They forego the king's meat and ate vegetables and still look healthier and fatter. You know what I mean? So that's the power of that. The fact that the Most High is still going to protect his people and make provisions. Even once I was joking around and said, we get to the point where we're going to be eating easy bake type. Ain't nothing real, you know what I mean? But like Maya said, by the time they get out, we don't know what the Most High done to make that thing nourishing. You know what I mean?
Right. And I know I wanted to say this earlier, but like Nariah, he had to get some stuff done at the dentist. I had to go to the dentist. I got to go again this week too. But when she checked my blood pressure, she said it was perfect. So I texted him just randomly, just was like, and then he said, yeah, here's the same thing. I said, I got a couple more cheeseburgers in me then. And I was like, it's just all praise to the Most High, because I know my family members, they'll put everybody high blood pressure pills, and you got high blood pressure because we eat salt and all those things. But the Most High, when you come to the covenant, he don't want nothing that's not seasoned with salt, right? So, we was just, talking to each other how, y'all know Nariah, he eats, but I mostly only eat like one full meal per day, just probably because I'm at work and I don't want to, y'all know, like even today, if I'm working, I just focus on the work and then I eat and relax and sleep and nap after. That's how I do. But yeah, Nariah and myself both to have that, we just give the credit to the Most High. You had one more thing, right?
I was going to back up, and we was talking about just the open chastisement from the Most High, and I feel like, wow, like you were talking like we didn't basically whoop in public openly. I think it's beautiful that when you go like Revelation 3:9, he talks about he gonna make them come out our feet though, and then recognize that he loved us. You know
publicly.
What I mean? So a lot of people think they're doing something to his feet. He's allowing it, thinking we must don't have the Most High not with us because they're doing this stuff, but he also gonna, make us recognize for people's corner, and stamp us USDA approved.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your Most High approved, baby. Naraya wanted to just say the thing about the prayer, and then we'll go into this. So we're everybody's good on Jacob's trouble, right? And the con. Cool. So we good on Jacob's trouble. And as part of this roadmap, I just want all of this is good news. So, I want to start there and it'll pick up from here next week. So Naraya wanted to say something about the prayer thing.
Honestly, obviously, we know that it's the Most High that does all these things and watches over us, but it goes back to that word bless or barak. When you break the word down, there's three characters. It's the Ba, which is the house, the Ra, the head of the man, and then the Ka, the hand. So when you bless something, you put it in the chief's hand, in the Most High's hand. So we don't necessarily, of course, we petition and pray to the Most High, but we pray to him to bless the food. So some precepts, I'm just going to fire them off really quick because I don't want to hold up the class. This is Yahushua, Matthew 26:26. And it says, and as they were eating, Yahushua took bread and blessed it and break it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. Now we know that that is, the Pesach, but here it is when he was feeding the massive congregation. Luke 24:30, that reads, and it came to pass as he sat at meat with them, he took bread and blessed it and brake and gave to them. One more just for the road, Luke 9:16. Then he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed them and brake and gave to the disciples to set before the multitude. So just to show you, we give thanks after the Most High fulfilled us, fulfilled our hunger. Deuteronomy 8:10 tells you that after you've eaten and you were full, you give thanks to the Most High for this good land that he has given you. Now we know we're not in the land, but we still give the Most High thanks for one, that he had mercy on us and spared us. But 2, when we ask him to bless something, we're telling him, Abiyah, it's in your hands. All this food is defiled. I'm looking to you to make sure, because you said I can eat beef. You said I can eat turkey. I'm leaving it up to you because I've been keeping your commandments to barak this food, to provide and sustain me to continue to live.
All praises for that. All praises for that. Man, I can really, that's definitely powerful. And it just, hopefully that helps us with respecting the Most High, praying before, praying after, and giving him thanks in all things and believing that he'll keep us from it. So going into, we started really a while back with the judgments and seeing the signs of the times. Now we've covered Jacob's trouble and realized that we're still in Jacob's trouble, and it's gonna continue and may increase until we're saved out of it. So we covered that understanding. Now I want to go into the beginning from the end from the beginning, the expected end that the Most High has given us. And it's going to be some prophecies. I just wanted to start with the Testament of Dan first, because it's like for us in this class specifically, of course, we like to read extra biblical sources, and then it'll lead into some other foretold prophecies that the Most High told us from the beginning what was going to happen at the end. We'll continue that same thing next week. And then I think after that, it'll start going into like Exodus. And I think I'm going to ask y'all something about that at the end of this as well. All right. So if you didn't know, and those that may be online, you could get this Testament of Dan for free on an app on your smartphone from, I think it's called Lost Books, right? We said last week. So you can go through and be able to read these different lost books and testaments, etc. I know Naraya has it. I can get him to read, but we're going to I'll probably maybe next week add a couple more, but just for now, it'll just be Dan. And just start at chapter 2, verse 6. And for those online, of course, it's on the screen as well. Shema. This is the start of the expected end for the nation of Yashala.
The Testament of Dan, chapter 2, verse 6. For I have read in the book of Enoch, the righteous, that your prince is Satan, and that all the spirits of wickedness and pride will conspire to attend constantly on the sons of Levi, to cause them to sin before Yahweh. And my sons will draw near to Levi and sin with them in all things. And the sons of Yahweh will be covetous, plundering others' men's goods like lions. Therefore, shall you be led away with them into captivity.
I wanted to underline that part too, but I had to start wrapping it up to get ready for the class this morning. But you shall be led away into captivity. We just talked about that. Go ahead.
And there shall you receive all the plagues of Egypt and all the evils of the Gentiles, Dayam. And so when you return to Yahweh, you shall obtain mercy.
Hallelujah.
And he shall bring you into his sanctuary, and he shall give you shalom. And there shall rise unto you from the tribe of Yahweh and Lawiah, the Yahweh of Yahweh. And he shall make war against Beliar and execute an everlasting vengeance on our enemies.
Remember, we talked about that, Maras, the last time you spoke. I think you started talking about that the gospel and the great day is about the Most High's vengeance. So we're seeing that again. Go ahead. That Christ is coming, and he's coming to execute an everlasting vengeance on our enemies. Go ahead.
And the captivity shall he take from Beliar the souls of the saints, and turn disobedient hearts unto Yahweh, and give to them that call upon him eternal shalom.
Because he's the King of peace. Verse 12.
Verse 12. And the Quadashim shall rest in Adon and in the new Yerushalayim.
Stop right there. So that is a potential witness to how you always say, Marah, the goal is to go back to the garden. That's what he's saying here. Go ahead, Nariah.
And in the new Yerushalayim shall the righteous rejoice, and it shall be unto the kabod of Elohim forever. And no longer shall Yerushalayim endure desolation, nor Yasher Allah be led captive.
So remember, Luke 21 says, we're scattered in this time of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And then we came back and said, well, it shows that if they're in power, we won't be in power. But when we're in power, it's over for them. That's what he's saying here. When this thing flips, no longer will we be taken into captivity. Go ahead.
Because you were alluding to this earlier. It's like our captivity was just switching hands from one captor to another. From Babylon to Medo-Persia to Greece to Rome. And here we are.
Yeah, he said that.
That's what I was talking about earlier. For Yahweh shall be in the midst of it, verse 13, living amongst men, and the Holy One of Yasher Allah shall reign over it in humility and in poverty. And he who believeth on him shall reign amongst men in truth. Want to keep going?
Yeah, it goes to 19.
Okay.
And
verse 14. And now fear Yahweh, my children, and beware of Shaitan and his spirits. Draw near unto Elohim and unto the Malachim that interceded for you, For he is a mediator between Elohim and man. And for the peace of Yasharallah, he shall stand up against the kingdom of the enemy.
So who's that verse talking about?
Shot. Verse 16. Therefore is the enemy eager to destroy all that call upon Yahweh. This is a big verse, if I could, real quick. This verse is very powerful to me, and as soon as I read it, read it again. Therefore is the enemy eager to destroy all that call upon Yahweh. How many times has Marah said that the devil hates you because now you're choosing to keep these commandments? When you keep the commandments, you're calling out to the Most High. That's a distinct sound from what Hashatan is used to hearing. And a perfect example of that is, y'all ever been playing with your drink, spinning it in water with a straw, and then you'll turn and change the direction? You see that force, that tension that you get? We're the ones going against that grain. And it's easy to spot, and Satan's going to do everything he can to come destroy you. He's eager to do it. I just want to say that. Verse 17. For he knoweth that upon the day on which Yasharallah shall repent, the kingdom of the enemy shall be brought to an end.
Ain't that what we've been saying? That's what we've been saying the whole time. As a whole nation, we have to repent. And then when the captivity and the great tribulation, Jacob's trouble is over, the kingdom of the enemy is going to be over. Go ahead.
Verse 18. For the very Malach of Shalom shall
Melchizedek. Gotta watch the replays. Go ahead.
For the very angel of peace shall strengthen Yasharallah, that it fall not into the extremity of evil. And it shall be in the time of the lawlessness of Israel that Yahweh will not depart from them, but will transform them into a nation that doeth his will. For none of the angels will be equal unto him.
And see, that's what I was saying, that it's not us that's turning to want to do the Most High's will. It's the Most High making us turning and to do his will. But that's like super high level. Like, it's like kind of hard to imagine. To us, I'm choosing to do this. But this is explaining that the Most High, even in our time of lawlessness as a nation, he's taking and turning us back to him.
And if I could, just a real quick segue. If y'all look at like TV shows or movies or anything like that, it's real big on like animation. I'm a real big fan of like Japanese anime. A lot of their shows, like when it's like the superhero type stuff, is always the main character defying fate. And that's a big message that this world tries to send to put into people. They try to tell you that you can create your own reality, and they can tell you that you can go against fate. But what Shamar is saying, that real high level thought, the Most High has already declared the end from the beginning. So that fate has already been sealed. But the devil, through this entertainment, wants you to think otherwise. And that's like that's like a lot of witchcraft that I've been noticing in these shows. Biggest example that all of us can probably relate to is Infinity War with Marvel. Thanos was supposed to be the Most High.
Yeah.
And the fallen angels, the other nations, think about it. Captain America. I was just talking about this with Ashiya. Captain America trusted in magic from a Norse Greek god, Thor. And he used magic or witchcraft to go against Thanos. So I only say those things just to say that these people are going to fight against, they're going to fight against this even to the very end. Don't end it in Revelation where it says they still don't repent from their wickedness. So we just got to be careful that we don't look like that.
Khan, and just continuing with the theme, the expected end of the nation. Was that some good news though, what we just read so far? And just continuing, it's a couple more precepts, Jubilees, chapter 1, and then we start making our way to the quote unquote conventional text. So Jubilees chapter 1, you can stick with it. And it's going to start at verse 15.
Shemayo.
1 second. I would have went back and put them online, but it was too much. We was at the door. Everybody good or
The book of Yabalam, chapter 1, verse 15. And it reads, and they will forget all my Torah and all my commandments and all my judgments, and will go astray as to new moons and Shabbatim and feasts and jubilees and ordinances. And after this, they will turn to me from amongst the other nations with all their heart and with all their soul and with all their strength. And I will gather them from amongst all the other nations, and they will seek me so that I shall be found of them.
So y'all see, we doing that now, right? He told us this from the beginning. And this should strengthen your faith, because it's like, how is it that now we're waking up to want to follow the Most High's commandments? Go ahead.
Still verse 16. When they seek me with all their heart and with all their soul, so your whole desire is to seek the Most High. Verse 17. And I will disclose to them abounding peace with righteousness, and I will remove them the plant of uprightness with all my heart and with all my soul, and they shall be for a blessing and not for a curse, and they shall be the head and not the tail.
So what is he saying right there, y'all?
You're going to reverse in Deuteronomy curses.
The reversing of the curses. That's what's going on. Go ahead.
Verse 18. And I will build my sanctuary in their midst, and I will tabernacle with them.
Stop right there. The Testament of Dan just said that he was going to live in the midst of the people. That's another witness. Go ahead.
As well as in Revelation where it says Yahweh is with man.
Right.
Still verse 18. And I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people in truth and righteousness. And I will not forsake them, nor fail them, for I am Yahweh Elohim.
And then skip down to 26.
Verse 26. And they all shall be called children of the living Elohim.
1 second. Give me different verses, but like maybe like 23. It says, and they will turn to me with all righteousness or something like that. Yours might be one chapter like before or after. 22 or 23.
Okay, verse 24.
All right.
And after this, they will turn to me in all uprightness and with all their heart and with all their soul, and I will circumcise the foreskin of their heart and the foreskin of the heart of their seed, and I will create in them a Ruach HaKodesh, and I will cleanse them so that they shall not turn away from me from that day unto eternity.
See, y'all see that it's the Most High that's going to do this for those who have started to search him and turn back to him. He's going to circumcise your heart, your seed's heart, your children's heart, and you will never go astray from the Most High again. That's an expected end, the end from the beginning. Go ahead.
That's that new covenant that we're looking for.
that no man shall sin no more, no man shall teach his brother the law. Go ahead.
Verse 25. And their souls will cleave to me and to all my commandments, and they will fulfill my commandments, and I will be their father, and they shall be my children, and they all shall be called children of the living Elohim, and every angel and every ruach shall know, yea, they shall know that these are my children, and that I am their father in uprightness and righteousness, and that I love them. And do you write down for yourself all these words which I declare unto you on this mountain, the first and the last, which shall come to pass in all the divisions of the days in the Torah, and in the testimony, and in the weeks, and the jubilees unto eternity, until I descend and tabernacle with them throughout eternity. Let me go all the way down
to that's good right there. It you can go all the way down to 31, but that's good. And then the last two is one is Deuteronomy 30. And then I think one is in Numbers, and then that's it. Shalom, brother. Shalom, family. I'll see y'all. That's pretty much the end. And then next week we're gonna start continuing this and talk about Exodus. Since you're leaving, the question I want to ask is if you can come back next week or online, whatever the case may be, see if you can find Exodus in the Bible. If you can, then bring it next week.
All right, I'm gonna call you.
All right. That's the question I'm gonna ask everybody anyway. But since they were leaving. All right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So we could just get somebody to read Deuteronomy 30 verses 1 through 10. And because I was gonna get him because he had read it earlier, but you know, so Deuteronomy 30, and we could just read like 1 through 10. All right, go ahead. Shema, when you have it.
Deuteronomy 30, chapter 30, verse 1. It shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither Yahweh your Elohim have driven you, and shalt return unto Yahweh your Elohim, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command you this day, you and your children, with all your heart and with all your soul, that then Yahweh your power will turn your captivity and have compassion upon you, and will return and gather you from all the nations where Yahweh your Elohim has scattered you. If any of yours be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from there will Yahweh your Elohim gather you, and from there will he fetch you. And Yahweh your Elohim will bring you into the land which your fathers possessed.
So we see that this is a reversing of the curses. The people have to be scattered so that they can be regathered. And it has to be all of us, not just a tribe called the Jews, right? And then he says, not only are we going to possess it and he will do good, but he's going to do what?
And multiply you above your fathers.
Now we will be multiplied above the fathers from before. It's gonna be a lot of us. So I'm guessing that it's gonna be easier for the women to have them babies, you know. So go ahead, verse 6.
And Yahweh your Elohim will circumcise your heart and the heart of your seed to love Yahweh Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul, that you may live.
See, that validates what it's saying in Jubilees, right?
Right.
He just said, I'm going to make you and your seed to worship, follow the will of the Most High. Same thing in Deuteronomy. Verse 7.
Verse 7. And Yahweh your Elohim will put all these curses upon your enemies and on them that hate you, which persecuted you.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Verse 8.
And you shall return and obey the voice of Yahweh and do all his commandments, which I command you this day. And Yahweh your Elohim will make you plenteous in every work of your hand, in the fruit of your body, and in the fruit of your cattle, and in the fruit of your land for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers.
So right there, that's showing you that when you plant your garden, the Most High is going to give the increase. As far as women and men conceiving, having coming together to have children, the fruit of your body is going to be blessed, multiplied, plentiful. The land, the cattle, everything will be restored. I don't want to go off on that diatribe, but all of those things will be restored to us and multiplied even above what our forefathers had. Verse 10.
Verse 10. If you shall listen, Shammai, hearken unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law.
This book of the law, not the works of the law. Just back to a reference from last week.
And if you turn unto Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul.
We could just stop it right there, but the expected end is that we're going to be returned back to our land, saved out of this captivity, and then we're going to be restored, multiplied above our forefathers. The last, I believe, the last slide right here is Marah. This will be Numbers chapter 24, and I'll have him read it. I think it's one of his favorites, but this is an expected end, the beginning, the end from the beginning, and the Most High's plan for us and roadmap, for his people. And it starts at, I believe, you can start at verse 17.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 24, from the Septuagint. Verse 17 says, I will point to him.
Yep.
I will point to him, but not now. I bless him, but he draws not near. A star shall rise out of Yaakov, or Jacob. A man shall spring out of Yasharallah, and shall crush the princes of Moab, and shall spoil all the sons of Seth. And Adam, or Edom, shall be an inheritance, and Esau, his enemy, shall be an inheritance of Yasharallah. And Yasharallah wrought valiantly. And one shall arise out of Yaakov and destroy out of the city him that escapes.
That you stop right there. So again, this prophecy is saying that basically Yahushua is going to rise out of the children of Yasharallah, and he's going to crush our enemies. Edom will become an inheritance, a reversing of the captivity, and then he's going to destroy out of the city those who try to escape or whatever the case may be. Basically, we know other precepts say those that didn't touch Jacob, he's gonna spare so that some out of those can be an inheritance to us, and those that did touch us, he's gonna destroy. So that's in relation to that.